My fiancé wants kids but I don't, and I don't know what to do. I've been a lurker for years, but this is the first time I'm posting because I feel like I'm at a crossroads. I 28F, let's call me Emily, have been with my fiancé 30M, let's call him Michael, for almost 5 years. We've been engaged for about 8 months, and our wedding is set for next summer. On paper, everything looks perfect. He's kind, funny, and responsible, we have similar hobbies: hiking, cooking, binging terrible reality TV, and we share the same values on finances, religion, and lifestyle. Except for one huge thing: kids. When we first started dating, the subject of children came up casually. I said something like, "I'm not sure if kids are for me." Michael said, "I'd like to have kids someday, but not right now." At the time, I thought we were on the same page. I was in my early 20s, so I brushed it off as something future Emily would figure out. Fast forward to now, and I've realized with every bone in my body that I do not want kids. Not now, not later. I've thought about it for years, journeyed about it, even talked with my therapist Dr. Laura about it. The desire just isn't there, and the thought of pregnancy, childbirth, or even raising a child fills me with anxiety, not joy. Michael, on the other hand, has grown more vocal about wanting to be a dad. He lights up whenever his sister Rachel 33F brings her 2 toddlers over. He talks about what kind of dad he'd be, how he'd love to coach Little League, or read bedtime stories. He even mentioned once that he could see our future kids running around the yard. Every time he says stuff like that, I smile weakly, but inside I feel like I'm sinking. The big conversation. 2 weeks ago, I finally decided I couldn't keep avoiding it. We were making dinner, chopping vegetables, and I said, "Hey, can we talk about something serious?" Michael immediately looked concerned. I told him, as gently as I could, that I don't see kids in my future. That the more I think about it, the more certain I am that motherhood isn't for me. He went quiet. Like, pin drop quiet. Then he said, "So what does that mean for us?" I told him I didn't know. He put the knife down, rubbed his face, and said, "I love you, but being a dad is something I've always pictured for myself. It's not a passing thought. It's part of my life plan." I broke down crying. I told him I love him too, more than anyone, but I can't force myself into a role I don't want. He hugged me, but it felt different. Family involvement. A few days later, I confided in my best friend Sarah 29F. She said, "You can't marry someone hoping they'll change their mind. That goes both ways." She reminded me that resentment builds quietly, and it kills relationships. Meanwhile, Michael talked to his mom Linda, 58F. Linda is very traditional and basically told him, "Don't throw away a good woman over something you can compromise on." When Michael told me this, I felt sick. Because kids aren't like choosing a vacation destination or a paint color. There is no middle ground. Rachel, his sister, actually pulled me aside during a family barbecue and said, "Emily, don't do it unless you're 100% in. Parenting is brutal sometimes. Love for your partner won't magically make you love motherhood." Her honesty made me cry again. Where we stand, right now, we're in limbo. Michael suggested, maybe we could wait and revisit in a couple years, but I already know how I feel. Waiting feels unfair to both of us. We've started couples counseling with Dr. Harris 40SM, and in the first session, he basically said, "This isn't something you negotiate. It's a core compatibility issue." Hearing that out loud was like a punch to the gut. I'm terrified. I love Michael deeply. I can't imagine life without him. But I also can't imagine being forced into motherhood I don't want. I don't know what to do. Reddit. Do I walk away from someone I love because our futures don't align? Or do I try to convince myself I could learn to want kids, even though I know deep down that's not me? Update, my fiancé wants kids but I don't, and I don't know what to do. Hey Reddit, it's been about 3 weeks since my original post and I wanted to give an update, because things have shifted, and not in the way I thought they would. First, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. I didn't expect it to blow up the way it did, and reading your perspectives, even the harsh ones, made me realize this isn't just a small bump in the road. This is a core incompatibility. Couples therapy. Michael and I went to 2 more sessions with Dr. Harris. The first session after my post was rough. Michael admitted point blank that he's been hoping I would change my mind about kids over time. He said he thought maybe after marriage, once we bought a house, I'd feel differently. Hearing him say that broke me. Because I've told him multiple times over the years that I'm not interested in kids, but I guess I always left it soft, like, not sure yet, instead of, no. I can see how he held on to hope. But the truth is, the more time passes, the more certain I am. Dr. Harris said something that stuck with me. It sounds like both of you have been future faking each other. Emily, you hoped he'd get used to the idea of not having kids. Michael, you hoped she'd change her mind. Now you're both standing at the edge of a cliff and realizing there's no bridge. Oof. The engagement. We had a brutally honest conversation after that session. Michael asked me, do you see yourself ever waking up one day and wanting to be a mom? I said no. I asked him, do you see yourself ever being okay living a child-free life? He said no. We sat there in silence for a long time. Then he said, so what do we do about a wedding? That was the moment it hit me, this engagement probably isn't going to end in marriage. Family drama. When we told our families that we were taking a pause on wedding planning, reactions were mixed. Linda, his mom, was furious. She basically accused me of stringing her son along and wasting his prime years. That hurt, but also, she's not the one marrying me. Rachel, his sister, actually hugged me and whispered, I'm proud of you for being honest. My mom, Karen, 55F, was surprisingly supportive. She told me she regrets not thinking harder about whether she truly wanted kids before marrying my dad. For the record, she loves me and my siblings, but she admitted she was pressured by her family into motherhood and sometimes wonders how her life would have been different. So yeah, lots of emotions. Where we're at now, Michael moved back in with his parents last weekend to clear his head. We're technically still engaged, but the ring is sitting in its box on my nightstand. I stare at it every night and feel like I'm grieving something that's not even over yet. I miss him. We still text sometimes, but it feels like we're both pulling away. He's been spending more time with his nieces and nephews, and he sent me a photo of him holding Rachel's baby. The caption said, "This is what I want." I cried for hours. Not because I'm jealous of the baby, but because I realized I can't give him the life he wants. What I've learned: love isn't always enough. You can love someone fiercely and still not be compatible. Kids are not something you can compromise on. It's yes or no. There's no halfway. Hoping your partner will change their mind is a recipe for disaster. So that's where we are. We haven't officially ended things, but the writing is on the wall. Part of me wants to cling to him because I love him so much, but another part of me knows the kindest thing we can do is let each other go. I'll update again when things become official. For now, I just wanted to say thank you for helping me see things more clearly. Final update: my fiancé wants kids but I don't. Hi Reddit, it's been about 7 months since my last update. I never imagined I'd be writing a final one, but here we are. The breakup. About a month after my last post, Michael and I sat down at a park near my apartment. It was a sunny afternoon, and I remember thinking how normal the world felt while my entire future was collapsing. He told me he loved me but couldn't kill the part of himself that wanted to be a father. I told him I loved him but couldn't pretend that motherhood was in my future, and that was it. We cried, we hugged, we said goodbye. He took the ring back, not in a petty way, but because neither of us could stand the sight of it anymore. The fallout. The first few weeks after the breakup were brutal. I cried almost every night. I kept reaching for my phone to text him something random, like a meme or a funny thought, and then remembered we weren't us anymore. I also got hit with a lot of family opinions. Linda, his mom, made sure everyone knew it was my fault. Rachel, his sister, stayed kind and even checked in on me once, which I appreciated. My mom, Karen, became my rock. She'd call me every evening just to ask if I'd eaten dinner, and sometimes that was the only thing that kept me going. Michael's new life. Through mutual friends, I found out Michael started dating someone new, Jessica, 29F, a teacher who apparently loves kids and wants a big family. I won't lie, seeing photos of them together on social media felt like a punch to the gut. But at the same time, I'm happy for him. He's getting the life he always wanted, and I couldn't give that to him. My new life. As for me, something amazing happened after the breakup. I started living more authentically. I moved into a small loft apartment in the city. I adopted a rescue dog, Bailey, who's now the center of my world. I reconnected with old friends I hadn't seen much during the relationship. I even took a solo trip to Seattle, something I never would have done before. Most importantly, I've stopped apologizing for not wanting kids. For years I let people make me feel broken or selfish. But now I see it clearly: choosing not to be a parent doesn't make me less whole. It makes me honest. Closure. A couple weeks ago, Michael and I ran into each other at a grocery store. It was awkward at first, but then we talked for a few minutes. He looked happy. I told him I was happy too. And it wasn't a lie. We'll never be what we were, but I think we both know we made the right choice. TLDR. Fiancé 30M wanted kids, I 28F didn't. After months of therapy and painful talks, we realized there was no compromise. We broke off the engagement. He's now dating someone who wants kids, and I'm living a child-free life with a rescue dog, new apartment, and new adventures. It still hurts sometimes, but ultimately, we both got to pursue the futures that make us happiest. Stories number 2. Dad sent me 15F to boarding school at a young age. Now he's upset that I don't like to spend more time with his family during the summers. Threatening not to send me back to my school this fall. I want to go back. Okay, so I've been attending boarding school since I was 10. I started the 5th grade at my boarding school. The reason why I started going so early is that my dad remarried my mother, killed herself when I was a baby, to my stepmom when I was 9. When she got pregnant with my brother, she insisted that I be sent to boarding school so that they could start afresh. I use quotes because I used to hear them talking about it when I still lived there. I actually heard the discussions they'd have at night about it when they thought I was sleeping. She said a lot of hurtful things then about me potentially being like my mother and potentially being a bad influence on their future children, but I guess she convinced him because he gave in, and they sent me away. So I went to boarding school. They had my brother and then my sister, and I only see them in the summers and some holidays. In fact, a lot of holidays I spend with my friends' families, which my father has always signed off on. This especially confuses me considering his change of heart this summer. I mean, I've spent the last 4 Thanksgivings holidays in other people's houses without comment. At first I was extremely depressed. I was really attached to my father as a kid, and it took me a long time to deal with being sent away, especially when my siblings were born. I felt a lot of betrayal and resentment. But then I grew to deal with it. What really helped and still helps is that I have a wonderful group of friends at school, and the adults there are really supportive there. My closest 2 friends have been there since I've been there. I feel like they're my family. Also, a lot of the kids I go to school with deal with what I'm dealing with in some form or the other, and this has given me a lot of perspective. Additionally, I am really grateful for this and understand that in a lot of ways I've been given an amazing opportunity and have nothing to complain about in this respect. I go to a really nice school. I love the grounds, I love my classes, I love the extracurricular, I love my teachers, and I love my friends. The picture people paint of boarding school isn't the one that I experience. It's pretty easy for me to say that I prefer being at school 100x more than I prefer being at my father and stepmom's home. When I'm in their home, I feel like an outsider. They do their thing and I do mine. It's especially awful though because I still get the sense that my stepmother doesn't want me around when I'm here. She barely acknowledges me, and I know she influences my brother and sister not to interact with me. I know because I took them to a theme park 2 weeks back and they told me this after a full day of having fun with each other. So, and as much as I appreciate that I get to have the experiences I do at school, I can't seem to distance myself from my distaste of my father and stepmom. So, in order to avoid being disrespectful or coming off as rude, I just try to minimize the time I spend with them when I'm in their home for the summer. I don't have any friends here, so this means I go on hikes, go on runs, go to the movies, whatever I can to just be active or out and about without getting into trouble. Which brings me to the problem. My father kind of blindsided me yesterday. He sat down with me while I was eating breakfast, which never happens. Before going on a hike, and he told me he's concerned that I haven't wanted to spend time with the family. I was confused because I haven't ever perceived this need from him, nor any space for it. He works all year round and all day. My stepmother is always ferrying my brother and sister to something or off with her friends. I just didn't even think that they wanted that. He then said that he wants to keep me here for my final 2 years of high school and enroll me in the nearby private school so that I can be with the family, and I just panicked. I get stellar grades and I'm doing well at school. Every report he's gotten has been good. I expressed this to him, but I was so distraught at the idea of not going back that he insisted my distress was an indication of how unattached from the family I was. I know I could have handled it better, but I blew up at him after he said this. I told him he was the reason I wasn't attached to family, and that removing me from school would only remove me from the one place I had any real family. This really made him angry, and he left saying he was resolved to remove me. I don't know what to do. How can I convince him to let me go back? I feel like I'm a kid again. It's the same feeling all over again and I'm so angry. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I suspect that once your stepmother learns what your father has said that she will convince him to change his mind. Commenter 2. The stepmother might actually be a good last resort strategy here. If you try the letter writing or having a friend's parent/a teacher talk to your father and he doesn't change his mind, then you've got nothing to lose in trying to enlist your stepmother to convince him. For her own selfish reasons it sounds like she would agree you should go back to this school, and she is probably the person most likely to influence your father. Reply. Oh God, I really hope so. Commenter 3. You need to be honest with him. He'll be shocked and deny it, but if you're honest he'll understand. You need to tell him you heard when you were 10 the reason you were shipped to boarding school is so that his family could start afresh. At the time you resented it, being displaced, but you found what you were missing at home, acceptance. You are now thriving at school with friends who willingly and wanting have you over for Thanksgiving. You don't feel the same at his house. You feel like an intruder, not a true member of the family. Even your brother and sister admitted that your stepmother instructed them to treat you this way. Then you drop the truth bombshell. You will always resent him for picking his new family over you, but you will resent him even more if he displaces you from the only place where you felt welcome. This conversation will not be easy, so feel free to write it as a letter instead. You are 15, you don't get to call the shots, but you're old enough to demand your opinions be heard. Your father is an absentee parent, he needs to learn the truth. Reply. I really like the idea of writing a letter. I'm going to clear my head and get started on writing it so I can deliver it to him as soon as possible. I really appreciate this feedback. Thanks. When asked if the reason the father wants OOP closer to home at a local school is for financial reasons, I'm not sure. It doesn't appear as if there are money problems. I know that my tuition is very expensive, but based off the family's lifestyle, it seems like nothing. I don't know if I'm being naive with this assumption though. I don't want to be too detailed for the sake of anonymity, but I know he works in a field and for a company that makes what a lot of people consider problematic amounts of money. I don't know if anything has changed for him. It's just never a thing he's discussed with me and I've never asked him about his money. Update. I've been silent since the first few responses because I wanted to process all the suggestions coming my way. Second, I decided to write an email to my father, in which I apologized for my outburst, expressed my understanding that we should develop a better relationship and my want for one as well. I don't know if I really want this TBH, but based on feedback, it seemed smart to include this, and my belief that pulling me out of my school would not result in that goal. I offered alternatives, like FaceTiming regularly and more consistent visits during the holidays like Thanksgiving. I also suggested that maybe we should do something together during this holiday so that we could talk and catch up. We used to hike a lot together when I was a kid and I suggested that we go on one together like this weekend. I also explained that I feel I've been a responsible and productive student at the boarding school, pointing out that I head the diversity club, have provided peer tutoring each year since 8th grade, and have maintained a good GPA and that disrupting my schooling might be counterproductive. I explained that my outburst was due to these details, rather than my not wanting to be closer to him. I closed out saying I know he wants what's best for me. I hope this is true and I'll choose to believe it and I want to work with him to make that happen. So now I'm waiting for his reply. I'm pretty anxious because I honestly don't know how he'll reply. I'm taking advice given to me here though and trying to make plans in my mind for any response. I haven't told any of my friends yet because I know they'll tell their parents, who may contact him, and I can't be sure how he'll react to that. If he refuses after my email, maybe I'll try to have an adult intervene. I'm still thinking it through. Anyway, thank you guys again. It's nice to know there are nice people all over. Update 2, he responded. Not the Tinto, when we spoke I told you I had made my decision. That stance has not changed and I am disappointed that you have chosen to ignore my words. Do not forget that you are still a child under my care, despite what you may feel. One day you will see the wisdom in this and be thankful. I am currently on my out on business and will be back on Saturday. Until I return and am able to speak in person, I do not want to hear or read another word about this issue. I want to contact my headmaster and dorm parent. I have good relationships with them, but now I really feel if they contact him that will be the end of it. I think I fucked this up. I shouldn't have sent that email, I should have waited. I don't know. My friends' parents are all pretty influential / well known in my dad and stepmom's social circle and I'm worried it will humiliate my dad / stepmom if they find out about this issue or try to intervene. I feel to so paralyze. Update 3, I'm going back to school. A lot has happened in a short period of time. I don't think I dealt with my father's email in the smartest way, but it worked. Advice telling me to speak to my stepmom really stuck with me. I felt so desperate that I spoke to my stepmom about the situation. It became very obvious very quickly that she had no clue that my father had wanted this. She immediately left the room after I explained the situation. I could hear her arguing with him saying it was a deal breaker and that she wouldn't have it. He called me soon after she hung up and sounded so very angry. He said it was clear I had made up my mind and didn't want to be part of the family. He said that he had wanted time to let my stepmother know and wishes I had trusted him. I didn't even know how to start explaining why I feel his view of my feelings are so wrong before he told me that since I didn't even want to try working with him he's sending me back. He ended the call saying I hope you can deal with the consequences of your choices. I'm angry at him because I feel like so much of this is miscommunication on his part, but I'm happy more than anything because I get to go back. Thank God. I'm going to lay low, be as nice to everyone as possible, and try to ride this out until school starts, which is soon. I'm so relieved. Final comments. Commenter 1. Update 3 is fucking glorious. He throws you away like garbage, tries to tear you away from your friends you made as a coping mechanism after his abandonment, then when you suggest a reasonable compromise to meet his need for affection without hurting you he tells you that your feelings don't matter, and he has the gall to act like you should have kept his secret from his wife. Out of what loyalty? Why would he think you'd have any reason to help him destroy everything happy in your life? What a self-absorbed fucking moron. I hope you email him this comment of mine and some choice others from this thread don't actually. That asshole needs a slap in the face with some perspective. I'm a grown-ass adult and I don't see how on earth you'd thank him later for what he tried to do. Commenter 2, just saw update 3. Congrats. I'm glad this worked out. The things you know need to be shared someday, though. The asshole needs to know that you know he's full of shit. Maybe wait until he doesn't have any control over your life, though. Stories number 3. Aita for not letting my sister's stepkids stay with me while they're homeless. Recently my sister and her husband of 4 years lost their home and they became homeless. They are currently in a shelter with my sister's 6- and 7-year-old stepchildren who they have sole custody of. The reason they have full custody is linked to the reason they were made homeless, and that's because of her husband's ex and the mother of my sister's stepkids. My BAL ended his relationship with her after she started taking drugs when the youngest was an infant. It was the start of a legal battle between them. There were times she would get unsupervised access to the kids every other weekend and other times she could only see them supervised by a third party. Then about a year ago she lost her supervised visits and my BL was awarded sole custody. She lost it and trashed their house and threatened them and she was arrested but she was released after a few days. My BL did press charges but she was released while waiting for court. While she was out there were more incidents of property damage but the ex was smart enough to cover her tracks. Then she did get arrested again for going after the kids while my sister was alone with them. The kids wanted their mom and it became a big mess and she attempted to assault my sister. Charges were pressed again but yet again she was released while waiting for the court date. After many months of all this my sister and BIL were evicted by their landlord. They were not able to secure another place in time which led them to homelessness. The ex had her original court date and she was fined for the damage caused but no jail time and things are still up in the air about the second proven incident with the attempted assault. My sister hates the kids being homeless with her and BL so she asked me to take them in while they figure stuff out. But I had to say no. I have a child of my own and another on the way and I don't want to put us in danger because of the crazy ex. There's no doubt in my mind that she will come for us next once she realizes and she keeps a close watch over the kids so it will happen. My sister and I talked about it and she begged me to risk it. She said it's for kids and keeping them safe is important. I told her keeping kids safe should always be the priority which is why I have to think of my children. This led to an argument where she accused me of not caring about her stepkids because they're not bio or adopted kids and therefore she believes they're not family enough for me to help. I told her bio, step, adopted, it doesn't matter. I need to think about the safety of my own children. I told her she herself used to worry the ex would torch the house with her and her husband inside so why would I not be worried about my family? BL told me I could have taken extra safety measures and accused me of looking for any excuse to say no. I never wanted this to turn into a fight but now it has. Aita. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Your sister is seriously saying that you should risk your and your children's lives just so her stepchildren can be more comfortable. The crazy ex has already cost them their home, but your sister is willing to risk yours. And BAL thinks you can just take extra safety measures. Like what? You're not the AH here, OP, but your sister and BL certainly are. Reply. Yes, she is seriously asking that of me and she's angry I won't. Now she and Bil are both angry and I wonder if he would do the same in mine and my husband's shoes. Commenter 2, NTA. They are nuts if they think you would jeopardize the safety of your children for them, doesn't matter the reason. Commenter 3, NTA. Think of your kids' safety, don't get swayed or be guilt trip. Take extra measures, double your locks, put up security cameras. Reply, I would never change my mind. But I did want to know if holding firm on this would make me an AH, because sometimes you can do the right thing but still be an asshole to someone else. For me, my kids come first. Always. Reply. Commenter 3, no, you're not an AH, your kids' safety comes first. Think of what would happen if you let your sister's step-kids into your home. Does your BL's parents can't take in the kids? Reply, BIL's parents live in another country so they can't take the kids in. Stories number 4. Aita. For asking my sister to give me my money back after her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My sister had borrowed money from me almost a year ago for her husband's surgery and healthcare. They couldn't afford it, so when my sister asked me for financial help I was hesitant, but I helped her because she's my sister and helping her husband would mean helping her as well. I told her back then that I am hesitating but I will help. She said she'll return the money in 3 months, but she didn't and I didn't ask her either. So now I brought it up again. I wasn't planning on asking to return the money, but her husband made fun of my wife's scars. My wife has small scars on her hand. It's not serious, just small scars she inflicted on herself when she was 15. I was with her back then and put a stop to it. We are 27 both, and my Bill made fun of my wife when he asked her if she's still childish and asked her to cover up her hands because it's unpleasant for everyone. Both of our families were speechless and my wife was as well. I said when we are young we do dumb shit and he's too drunk so he should just shut up. He got a bit more aggressive and said that it's still unpleasant and my wife should cover up. I retaliated in my anger and told him that my wife will start covering her scars when he gives me my money back. TBH, I get angry easily and I wanted to insult him. My wife was holding me to stop but I told her to shut up. I ended up telling him that he's a poor man and weak who couldn't even afford his own surgery and had his wife beg for money to her brother. He got even more angry and he said he will give me my money. I said, do it right now, but you can't because you can't even walk properly. Our families were interfering and my sister was crying. I shut my mouth because I didn't want my sister to cry. Since then my sister is asking me to apologize because I hurt his ego and he's in foul mood and depressed. I told my sister that I will never apologize and he needs to apologize to my wife, and I asked her that both of them owe me money and I want it back as soon as possible and I don't care if they are poor. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Okay, telling your wife to shut up is not on, but I also get the fact that you were defending her and wanted to hurt him. I get the anger when it comes to protecting family. When someone goes low on my family, I scrape the barrels of hell. Commenter 2. NTA. Your brother-in-law can dish it out, but he can't take it. He should try to be more respectful to someone who was kind enough to loan him money and not ask for it back after 4x the agreed timetable of repayment on the loan had expired. Commenter 3. It is difficult to overcome the stigma of SH scars. I have many, and they're covered in various ways. If someone mocked my inability to manage my life, I think it would break me again. No matter how old I get, my attachment to living is tenuous at best. My husband, light of my life, knows this, and can be very, very protective. It doesn't matter who it is, he will absolutely fight for me. You are not in the wrong. Your wife will always need you in her corner. Remind your family that the things that can drive you to SH can happen instantaneously. Make them remember that. Take from them the same dignity and respect they took from your wife. Commenter 4. I stopped covering mine up. Let them stare. I survived shit most of the people staring can't even comprehend. I survived my own head trying to kill me on a daily basis. Every time someone makes a mean remark about my scars, I either give them a long, disdainful stare or ask them if they feel better now. Because, the comments say more about the people commenting than they do about you. Update. My wife has some small self-harm scars from her childhood and my Bill insulted my wife and asked her to cover them up, and when I couldn't tolerate the disrespect I asked him to give me the money I lent him for his surgery and healthcare. After my Bill insulted my wife and asked her to cover her scars, I wanted him to pay me my money back as soon as possible. My Bill and my sister said they'll give me my money back in 3 months and it's been a year and still they didn't. My wife told me today that my Bill called her and he apologized to her, so I shouldn't ask for money because they can't afford it and I should forgive them. I told my wife that he's taking advantage of your kindness and he apologized to you because he can't afford to pay and he insulted you in front of everyone and we deserve a public apology, and my wife said that she's forgiven him and doesn't want the money back and they need that money more than us. I told her to stay away from this and let me do my thing. I will ask them again and again until they pay, but my wife said she doesn't want to and I shouldn't either and I should be the bigger person after Bill apologized and she's forgiven him. Actually, I don't care if I get my money back, I am just using it to get back at him. I want to humiliate him just like he humiliated my wife in front of our families, but my wife doesn't want that. So am I asshole if I ask for my money and go behind my wife's back? Comments. Commenter 1. They should pay you back because you let them borrow from the kindness of your hearts. I totally get where you're coming from, but the family drama is probably stressing your wife out. I think her mental happiness is more priority than humiliation. The humiliation could also make her feel guilty even though it's not her doing, but technically it's because of her. Love that you're defending her though. By the way, your sister's husband is the holy. Commenter 2. I mean, there's two avenues of thought here. While your wife has forgiven him, you don't have to. And are well within your right to do so. Is this situation worth putting you at odds with your wife? You could just let it go to appease your wife and then keep him at arm's length and low contact from now on. Commenter 3. And never lend him or your sister money for anything ever again. No matter what the reason. In the end, they said they would pay it back within 3 months and they haven't, and it's been significantly longer. You didn't gift them the money, you loaned it. You have every right to demand they pay you back, even if he hadn't disrespected your wife. He's manipulating your wife and it's disgusting of him. But you need to decide if it's worth what it will do to you, the relationship you have with your wife. Only you can decide that, but definitely never give them money again no matter what they say. Stories number 5. Wibta for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife. I 27M and my husband 37M have been married for 3 years, dating for 6. He has an ex-wife 37F which he divorced a year before we met. We have a son 7M who was adopted after we got married and who I love as my own child, because he is. I know my husband, Peter fake name, is bisexual. I have no problem with it, and I had no problem with his ex-wife, Allison also fake name. I did have a problem with his family as they're a bit homophobic and are always telling Peter he should get back together with Allison. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were at his family's town because it was my son, Jack's fake name birthday and we wanted to spend it as family. My mother-in-law decided it would be a good idea to invite Allison, so she arrived in the middle of the party. I didn't want to ruin Jack's birthday, so I stayed quiet. I spent all my time with Jack, playing with him and his cousins at his request. When it was time to cut the cake, I noticed Allison and Peter weren't there, so I went inside and looked for them around the house. I found them in Peter's old bedroom taking their clothes off. I stood there in shock for a moment, but then I left and went back to celebrating Jack's birthday. Part of me wanted to scream and cry, but I also was in shock and I refused to make Jack's birthday about me. We cut the cake and opened the presents. People were already leaving when Allison and Peter came back. Peter took me aside and started saying that I shouldn't have cut the cake without him present and it was disrespectful. I stared at him and just said, "I'm sorry, I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He got quiet, so I took Jack and left the house to go back to the hotel. Once I put Jack in bed and made sure he was asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and broke down. I called a friend and he tried his best to console me. I only calmed down in the morning when I took Jack for breakfast because I didn't want him to see me like that. I'm now watching him play in the park and I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to have a broken family. I don't want him to know that relationships aren't a happy ever after. Peter has been calling and texting, apologizing for everything, and I'm tempted to forgive him. I'm tempted to just have my family back, and all my friends are saying that it was just a mistake, that he was vulnerable and Allison is his ex-wife. So what am I supposed to do now? I need the advice from people who don't know my husband or me personally. Update 1. Peter and Allison didn't notice me when I saw them. There was music very loud downstairs and they weren't facing the door. I didn't stop them because I was in shock. I just stood there for a moment and I heard my son, so I unconsciously focused on him. I was pretty much in autopilot. Peter didn't come to the hotel with me because I changed to a different one. He did try to follow me, but I took a taxi and left. As far as I know, he's staying with his parents and Allison left. We met when I was 20 and he was 30, we started as friends, and we ended up dating. Yes, we're both men, and no, I didn't feel manipulated or groomed by him. Those were the most asked things and I did answer some comments, not all. Now on to the update. I did as some of you said and took some tests to discard any STIs or STDs. The results are coming back in a few days, and I will take another one in 3 weeks to be sure. My son is having a sleepover with a friend and I decided to speak with my husband. He came by our house. After a few minutes I texted him. He asked about Jack and I told him where he was, then we sat on the couch and started talking. I started crying after a few minutes and he followed after. I asked some simple questions: when? Why? How many times? Among others, and this is what I could figure out by all the things he said, it happened for the first time when he visited his parents alone 2 years ago. They invited her, they both got drunk, he was feeling lonely as I had been more attention to Jack since we adopted him, and they slept together. Nothing happened again until our son's birthday party. He said his mother pressured him a bit and he caved in. I don't believe he did it for that reason, but I don't know. He said he doesn't love her and I believe him, but it doesn't negate the fact of what he did. After talking for a while, I told him that I wanted a divorce. He started sobbing and begging for another chance, but I told him that I can't give him another chance because I wouldn't be able to trust him again and I don't want that in a relationship. He kept crying and begging for another 30 minutes until I told him that we have to think about Jack and his well-being, that we could stay friends and co-parent him. He got mad, really mad. He started yelling that it was all Jack's fault, that we shouldn't have adopted him, that he's the one who's getting between us. I was crying and really scared. I had never seen him this angry. He hit the table and stormed out of the house. I called the house where Jack is staying at and told them if Peter shows up there, they can't open the door. After the little episode, I was scared that Peter would try to hurt Jack. I called my friend again, Thomas, and told him everything that happened. He came by and is staying with me until I'm better. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to go on with the divorce. Update 2, hi again. Sorry for taking so long to update, but it's been a chaotic week and I'm pretty shaken up, but I'll try to summarize it. My husband has been showing up at my work, following me, and calling me from burner phones. I was afraid he'd go after Jack like many of you said he would, but he didn't. He said a lot of stuff, but I'll try to write the important things. He said that he missed when we were just us, that I stopped paying attention to him when we adopted Jack, that I wasn't his anymore. He said that he missed how dependent I was on him. I was very insecure when we met, but I started working on my issues when we adopted Jack because I didn't want to be a bad example for him. When we got married, I used to get sick all the time, I was weak and tired, so he would take care of me 24/7. The doctors couldn't tell what was wrong with me and I didn't get better until a bit after we adopted Jack. I guess that dependence, it's what he missed. Yesterday, he followed me to work and started screaming that I was his and that we made vows to stay together. We had to call security and he waited for me next to my car. I panicked and took a taxi home. He keeps messaging me and showing up to our house. I took a few weeks off work to be with Jack, although he's taking this better than me. I made an appointment with a therapist for him, and when the divorce is finalized, I'll go to one myself. I've been debating what to do, so I'll update when something happens. Final update. This has been a really difficult time, but I'm almost divorced. I have primary custody of Jack, and I've got a restriction order against Peter and Allison. I'll try to be quick, but a lot happened. So, after I made the post, Peter kept calling and stalking me. I didn't know what to do until I started packing Peter's stuff and I found a box of pictures of me before we met, like 3 or 4 years before we met, while he was still married to Allison. I never knew why they got divorced. He just said it was too painful to talk about, so I never asked, but I swallowed my anger and sent Allison a message to ask her about the pictures, and she told me that they got divorced because she saw him stalking my Facebook several times and found the same box I did. He called it an innocent crush and curiosity, but she thought he was cheating on her and they got divorced. A year later, he met me, but Allison always thought that I was the side piece. I read a few comments saying that I maybe was sick because he was making me sick. I don't know if that's possible, I don't really know. I mean, the illness were bad enough to make me stay in bed, like having a bad cold, but I don't know. I stopped digging. After I found the pictures, I confronted Peter without Jack in the house and he seemed, I don't know, proud. He kept smiling and saying that all he did was for us, that it was love at first sight, and we were destined. He was just making sure it happened. Apparently, we had met before we became friends. I remember meeting him at a party through some friends, but we met before, as teenagers. He and I lived in close-by towns and my school made some trips to the towns nearby and we met on one of those trips. We were something like friends, but only for a summer because he went to college and I soon forgot about him, but he found my Facebook, and the story continued. I was horrified, to say the least. He tried to console me and tell me that it was fine, that he did it out of love, and that if only we hadn't adopted Jack, everything would be fine. I was bawling my eyes out. My entire marriage was a lie. He said that he only slept with Allison because he knew that it would get my attention and that we didn't have to go through with the divorce, that I know he loves me and that's it. He promised to be a better dad for Jack if I made more time for him. He told me to quit my job because he earned enough to take care of all of us and that would give me more time with him. I was in shock and then he hugged, calming me down. I admit that for a moment, I allowed him to hold me, I allowed myself to consider his proposal, but I kept thinking about his lies. It wasn't about the cheating, it was the stalking, the lies, the obsession. It creeped me out, so I tried to pull away and tell him I'd go through with the divorce. He refused. He hugged me tighter and screamed that I needed him, that he could protect me, he could take care of me, he could save me, that I was his husband and only his. I was terrified. I slapped him and pulled away, yelling at him to get out of my house. He didn't. He just kept screaming and holding on to me until a neighbor heard the commotion and called the police. I filed a restriction order and been taking care of Jack since. During the divorce proceedings, Peter asked for 50-50 custody, which surprised me because in all this time, he hasn't cared about seeing Jack, but I later found out that it was only because he would get to see me and talk to me regularly. He's been contesting every single thing about the divorce, trying to make it last longer than it has, and it's been working. He offered to give me child support even though we have 50-50 custody. He allowed me to keep the house, and other stuff. So, that's what's been going on in my life. The only happy thing that happened was Halloween. Jack insisted on dressing up as Spider-Man and me dressing up as Tony Stark, so we did, and I took him trick-or-treating. It was the most adorable sight ever, and I knew I made the right choice with him and Peter. I'm sorry for such a long post, but this will probably be the last update. Thank you so much for the advice and for hearing me rant. Update 4. I know I said that my last update would be the final, but I'm so very confused right now. So, we're finishing with the divorce proceedings, but Peter's attitude has given a 180 degrees and I don't know if I'm crazy or what. The last time I posted here, Peter was basically saying that our son was the reason for our divorce and only wanted custody of him to see me. Well, now he's being father of the year. A friend of mine, Dean fake name, is handling the drops and pickups of Jack so that I don't see Peter. At first he was mad and called me because he thought he and I were dating, then he didn't care. Now, I thought that he would treat Jack badly and I kept a very close on him, asked him questions about his father, how everything was going, etc. Jack told me that he's been acting like the perfect dad. He's nice, he plays with him, helps him, and is completely different from before. I have talked to Peter and he told me he was going to therapy, which I'm happy for, and he has messaged me, apologized, and told me that we should try couples therapy. I declined and he hasn't asked again, but he wants us to meet up at his house tomorrow to discuss everything that happened. He said it was part of his therapy. I haven't gone to therapy, I can't afford it right now, but Jack is. I can't say I don't miss Peter because he was a great partner and husband before everything went down, but I don't trust him after all that happened. So, I don't know what to say to him tomorrow or how to express how I feel about it. Is it wrong to miss him? I mean, this whole thing happened because he slept with someone else and I know that he hasn't seen Allison and won't be seeing her again because she's also done. Should I just move past it? Jack is also saying that he misses the three of us together. He's cried to me about it more times than I can count and asks why I can't forgive his dad. What the hell am I supposed to do? To feel? It's a short update. I guess that I'm just trying to vent without judgment from the people I know and give an update to those who asked it. Thanks again for all the support I received in my other posts. Update 5. Okay, I'm going to clear up a few things before I give you the actual update. I don't answer comments, I prefer to answer every question here instead of answering the same question separately. 1. I should have explained IR better, but my restriction order was a temporal one, only for 30 days. 2. Peter was a very good husband. I read that he was abusive all throughout our relationship. He wasn't. And he was a good dad to Jack. Everything went to hell when I caught him cheating. 3. What Jack was saying wasn't told by Peter. I talked to him and I made sure. He just has been missing our life before. 4. Peter would never touch Jack like some of you suggested. My case may make it seem like he could, but he never even touched me or groomed me. I did talk to Jack, just to make sure, and he reassured me nothing happened. Now, on to the update. I did meet with Peter. Most of you told me not to go to his apartment, so I told him to meet at a park, take a walk, or something. When I saw him, he was different. He looked very depressed and he hugged me when he saw me. He wouldn't stop apologizing for what happened. We started talking and walking. He didn't justify what he said or did, but he did say he regrets it. He said that he misses me and misses being together. I asked about Allison and he told me that he cut her and his parents out, which I believe he did, and then I asked about what he said about Jack. He basically said that he resented Jack for a long time because my attention wasn't on him anymore, and it was selfish, but he was too used to be the center of my world, so when it suddenly changed, he couldn't take it. He told me he loves Jack but that he sustains that if giving him up meant to have me back, he would do it in a heartbeat. We talked for hours while Jack was with my friend. I cried a lot, there were things I decided not to ask, like if he was drugging me like some of you said, because I honestly don't want to know. We have been texting these past days, mostly about Jack, but I'm considering family therapy, mostly to help Jack cope with everything. The divorce is still happening, which Peter wasn't too happy about, but he wasn't angry anymore, just sad. I also recently met a guy in a coffee shop and we have been texting a lot, so I'll see how that turns out. And that's it for the moment. I'll update you guys if you have many questions or if something else happens. Final update, Wibta for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife. Hi, guys. Sorry for taking so long to update, a lot has been going on and I forgot about the account, but today is my cake day, so I decided to give one last update. And this time is really final unless something extreme happens and I need advice again. In the last post I talked about Peter and I talking, Jack doing better, and I mentioned I met someone. We have been going to family therapy, Peter, Jack, and I, and Peter has gone to individual therapy and so has Jack. They're both doing better. It was better explained to Jack the terms of the divorce. I didn't mention the cheating, Peter did, but we told him that we loved him and this didn't mean we wouldn't see him as much. The divorce was finalized a few weeks ago and Peter ended up moving back with us. It was a mutual decision, as we both thought it would be stupid to pay for 2 different housings and have Jack move around. We wanted to give him some stability. I've actually reduced my work hours to spend more time with Jack and we're seeing if I can become a stay-at-home dad for a while. The guy I met, we had been seeing other a bit here and there. He's a really nice guy, but then I learned he was a friend of Peter's. None of us knew who the other was, and I decides to cut it off to avoid uncomfortable meetings or anything like that. My relationship with Peter has improved, the divorce is finalized, don't worry about that, but he has been putting a lot of effort into making it up to me and Jack. He has destroyed all the pictures, as far as I'm aware, and he promised to never do anything like that again. I believe him. People may call me naive for that, but he seems sincere. One of the questions I was asked the most after one of my updates is that why I had been so insecure and vulnerable at the start of our relationship that I ended up dating a man so much older than me. Well, I don't have a good relationship with family since I came out and I have very to almost no friends, so when I met Peter, I fell in love almost instantly. He's charming and nice and sweet. I was just smitten. So that's the update. I don't know if this is good or bad or whatever. I'll answer questions in the comments this time because, like I said, I won't make an update and I don't want people to stay worried or misinterpret things. Thank you a lot for the support and advice. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. How did you meet on a school trip as teenagers when your husband is 10 years older than you? If it was the summer before he left for college, weren't you 8 years old? Reply, no, he was already in college, he just left again. He was spending the summer at his hometown. Sorry for not explaining better. Stories number 6. Aita for telling my friend I share everything with my wife and I don't believe in bro code. My friend and I have been friends for 25 years. We know each other well. We're both happily married. We never really dive into deep talks or anything like that. He has said things before that really weren't appropriate about women not cheating or anything and says haha bro code. I have told him forever that I don't believe in bro code. IMO, if you can't say something in front of your wife then you either shouldn't be saying it, you should work on your communication, or you're not as compatible as you thought. Plus I'm not protecting someone if they do something that goes against my own personal moral code. I mean, if he killed someone I'd be there with a shovel and a hoe and not tell anyone. There's always exceptions. Much later he wanted to talk to me about something and told me it was in confidence and I told him again, something he already knew, that anything he tells me he's telling my wife too. They have also known each other nearly 20 years and get along great. We lived together for almost a decade. Any time he wanted to talk about something he'd go to her and he knew that she'd tell me. There's nothing I don't tell my wife. Same for her. We both believe communication and openness are the key to a happy relationship, and we are pretty fucking happy. We basically never argue or disagree and both of us know each other down to the core. So this last time, after telling him again that anything he confides in me will also go to my wife, he got upset. He contacted all of our friends and asked them if they'd go running to their wives when someone confided in them, and they're all on his side. I understand that it's not normal, but he has always known this, so it's not like it's a surprise. Aita for not wanting to keep secrets from my wife and being open about that. Comments. Commenter 1. YTA, there's nothing I don't tell my wife. That's fine when it concerns your business. Not fine when it concerns friends' business. Keeping your friends' personal things between the two of you is literally just basic human decency. Your idea of my wife is entitled to anything and everything you have to say is unbelievable. Friends should be allowed to confide in friends without said friend feeling like they have a right to tell their wife all the hot gossip. It's one thing when it comes to making inappropriate comments, but when a friend says hey I need to talk and I want to keep it between us, then you honor that, not tell them I keep nothing from my wife so you have to tell her all your personal business or don't tell me. What if the thing he wanted to talk about privately was serious? You just brushed him off and said my wife has to be involved or shut up. Imagine he wanted to reach out for help because he's battling suicidal thoughts and you just said well my wife is entitled to your business too, so if you tell me you have to tell her, then you lose him because you felt the need to be a gossip queen with no respect for other people's privacy and showed you're not someone that can be trusted for support. Your wife should be involved in things about you directly. She should not be involved with anything relating to your friends' lives without permission. It's not keeping secrets. Your wife is not entitled to every detail of your friends' lives. They however are entitled to not having their business shared with your wife. Glad your marriage is good because you're on track for people not wanting to be friends with you. Commenter 2, I feel this way about people who say that their SOs are allowed to go through their phone whenever. Okay, well then you need to notify all your friends that your SO may read through your text conversations at any time. We'll probably limit how many friends you have for good reason. People like this are the worst. You are a person outside of your relationship. Commenter 3, people are going to come at me for this, but I believe what friends share should be kept a secret. Why does your wife have to know something about your friend that he wants kept secret? Unless it directly affects your wife, why does she have to know everything about everyone? Commenter 4, YTA you are ready to help him bury a body, no questions asked and no wife present, but you can't have a private conversation with him. You might want to check on your moral priorities. Stories number 7. I 29F have been with husband 29M for 8 years. I have feelings for a coworker 30M that I can't shake. I've been with my wonderful husband since we were 21st. We have an amazing relationship with each other, still make time for dates every week, and really just enjoy each other. He became my best friend pretty instantly from when we started hanging out in high school, and that still hasn't changed today. I have a girlfriend who I do call my best friend, and outside of my marriage she is, but even that doesn't compare to the friendship I have with my husband. We've had our rough patches, but never anything very severe. There are some things I need to change about myself and things he needs to work on as well. Nothing relationship ending, just things that we need to do to be better people and better partners, and I doubt this will ever change as it's impossible to just be perfect people. We don't have any children, nor are children in our future. We both work and bring home pretty decent money, although we've both had small patches of unemployment in the past and were supported by the other. There's never been any hostility over the finances, regardless of who is making more or who is supporting whom. Our marriage has survived depression, alcoholism, and a couple of physical medical conditions, all met with overwhelming support from each other. We are a great team. Our sex life is great and really active. A dry spell for us is going the work week without having sex because one or both of us are just too exhausted, but that is not very common. We get along well with each other's families, and my family has really bonded with my husband. As far as they are concerned, he's just another son/brother. He's everything I could have ever hoped for in a husband and more, and I really truly love him. Now, I've felt myself attracted to others in the past, and I'm sure he has been through the same, but it's not anything we've ever discussed with each other. I know that it's normal, and it's never been anything too intense before. If I find myself starting to get feelings for someone who I see a lot, it doesn't take much to shake off. This is the first time I've ever dealt with feelings so intense, and I don't really know what to do next. My coworker is very attractive, super friendly, and I just enjoy being around him. We started working at this company around the same time, roughly 8 months ago. We were in training together for a couple of weeks, which was absolute torture. My feelings came on strong and came on quick. I'm sure I've turned red when he flashes me a smile. It would be embarrassing enough if I were single simply because we work together, but I'm married and I feel like that probably looks really poorly on me. We don't work together anymore, but our departments are close, and if he walks through my section he'll put his hand my on shoulder and give it a squeeze to get my attention when he's walking by, then flash me that smile. I'll make conversation if we pass each other or are at a work event together, but I do the same with pretty much everyone I've worked with/currently work with. We don't have each other on social media, haven't exchanged numbers, and don't see each other outside of work. I was invited out to a bar nearby by him and a few others a couple of times, but turned them down. I work in a male-dominated field, and didn't feel right being the only woman out at the bar with a bunch of guys, especially one who I do feel this way about. I avoid his floor at work when possible, and if he's on lunch at the same time I'll say hi as I pass but just grab my stuff and eat on the patio or on another floor. I try to just avoid thinking about him or remind myself of how dumb I'm being, but I can't shake this feeling. I'm not afraid I'm going to be an idiot and let passion take over or any of that nonsense, and I think all of those excuses for one-time mistakes are garbage. I'm in control of my actions and could never be so cruel to my husband. I just don't know what to do to shake these feelings. The last time I felt such a strong desire for someone was when I met my husband. We were great friends instantly, and hung out/fooled around for about a year before we made things serious. I was very young when we got together, and none of my relationships prior were very serious. I just never felt so strongly attracted to someone, and didn't think it was even possible to with anyone else. I don't compare my husband to my coworker or vice versa, and that's not what I'm trying to do here either. I've just been able to shake it off any time I've had feelings come on for someone else. It doesn't matter what I do with this guy though, if I think about it's hard to get him off my mind regardless of what's going on around me. I have gone weeks without running into him and he won't cross my mind, but then I can catch a glimpse of him when I'm strolling into work and my heart will start racing faster. I have a desire to be around him and be close to him, and I just need it to go away. I feel like I'm in high school all over again, except instead of daydreaming in class I'm trying to get this dude off my mind and get some damn work done. I know that Reddit is big on full disclosure, but this is not something I will be discussing with my husband. These feelings aren't coming out of neglect or want in my relationship with him. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by being with him, and there's nothing that he can do that would fix this for me. If he were feeling the same way about someone, I can honestly say I wouldn't want to hear about it. If he felt neglected and like my actions were causing him to desire affection elsewhere, then that would be a different story. I know that this is something that would affect him really bad, and I don't want him to feel uncomfortable for the 40 to 50 hours a week that I'm in the same building with this guy when there's nothing he could do or say that would change what's going on with me, and there's no chance of me crossing a line. I just don't see the purpose in creating an issue in my marriage when there isn't one. TLDR, have an insane crush on a coworker. I am very happily married and have a great relationship with my husband. No matter how much I avoid said coworker, I can't make these feelings go away. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Every time you see this guy, tell yourself to mentally stop, and imagine the wonderful qualities your husband has. Or imagine you and your husband doing something you enjoy. Try to replace these feelings of attraction with your husband. Reply. For some reason I hadn't even thought of this. I tend to just clam up a bit. Thanks. Commenter 2. I am going to be bold and just go ahead and say you really do not have feelings for him, but more the idea of him. Truth is, you do not know him at all. Okay, he seems nice, but people can be all sorts of things without necessarily being that particular thing. For example, he smiles and you think he is a warm person. People can smile without necessarily being warm people. He may be kind to you or other people and do kind things and you think he is a kind person, but people can do kind things without being kind people. I hope now you can understand what I mean when I said that you really do not have feelings for him, because you do not know him. You only know what you want to see in him and that is what attracts you to him. While it may be true that this is what you felt when you first met your husband, I would not give these feelings much consideration. You may have felt the same thing when you met your husband, but your relationship with your husband has developed into something real and genuine. If you want to think of the love that people talk about, then think of a spark. A spark can start a fire, but a spark is not a fire. A fire grows by continuously feeding it with logs of wood. In terms of relationships, the logs of wood are represented by shared experiences. Love grows out of shared experiences which are a result of compatibility. Love is the fire and infatuation is the spark. In the beginning, you experienced a spark with your husband, but it has now grown into a fire. You are now experiencing a spark with this coworker and if you indulge that spark, it may grow into a fire. You need to look for alternative avenues of thought. You need to keep your mind occupied when these thoughts begin to surface. You need to put out that spark before it turns into a fire or pretty soon you will find yourself saying, I have no idea how this happened. Do not indulge in the spark. Remember that it is not him that you have feelings for. You do not know him, you only know what you have built him out to be. He may turn out to be someone very different from what you imagine. Whenever those feelings begin to surface, just remind yourself that it is the idea of him that you have feelings for and that you and your husband have a real fire, not just a mere spark that can just as easily grow dim. Reply. Thank you for your response. I think looking at it from that perspective is really helpful. I'm not fantasizing of our life together or even thinking about sex when I see him. It's more of a physical reaction, which is kind of embarrassing, and getting stuck on how he makes me feel, his smile, voice, etc. I'm just hoping that it does fade away quickly. It's just been a few months at this point and I'm starting to get frustrated and angry with myself. Part of me hopes he just decides brushing his teeth is overrated or something that will disgust me enough to flip that switch. Commenter 3. So as I understand it, you're trying to ignore these feelings and just turn them off. I think the only way that you will be satisfied with this is, mind over matter. Good old-fashioned willpower. It doesn't sound like you're alternatively interested in pursuing this fantasy. It's tough, but I think the only you can do is just try harder to ignore these feelings. I don't really know what else you can do. Reply. Yeah, that's essentially it. I guess I was just going someone would know how to flip that switch and I would be missing the super obvious answer. It's just really frustrating and uncomfortable. Commenter 4. Understand that a crush is part of life and you have no intention on following through with it. Keep avoiding daily interactions like you are. Also never get his phone number or any social media. Never see him or talk to him outside a work function. Otherwise you're fine, there will be a point sooner or later when one of you probably changes jobs or moves away. Reply. Yes, definitely. Keeping social media and other personal contact separate is done on purpose. I don't think you need to have sex to cheat, forming emotional intimacy can be dangerous and really hurtful. It's nice to hear that I'm taking the right steps at least. Commenter 5. Lady, your husband is so lucky. I wish I could find a woman with half the self-awareness as you do. I am so impressed with what you've written here. It gives me hope I can find a woman like you for myself one day. Reply. This was really great to read, thank you. I appreciate that so much. I've honestly felt like such a shit wife while going through this. Sorry for the late response, just logged back in for an update and saw your comment. Update, I 29F have been with husband 29M for 8 years. I have feelings for a coworker 30M that I can't shake. TLDR of the first post. I have very strong feelings for a coworker, while being in an amazing relationship with my husband. Feelings towards coworker are very physical, and other than the reaction I had to meeting my husband, I haven't felt anything this strong before. Lots of confused feelings, and I want to make it go away. Before the update, I would like to clear something up that I think I may have worded poorly. My job is not male-dominated in the sense that there's 300 employees and like 4 women. We're probably closer to 25% to 30% female employees, the rest being male. We all give each other a hard time and play around, and it's not just all the guys here petting on the women. I've only had female coworkers mess with my hair as they're running by, similar to what I do with my sisters. The extent of touch that I've gotten/given to any of the guys here has been a pat on the back for a good job and a rough close, handshakes, pat on the shoulder in passing to get their attention while going to make copies, and I've hugged one male coworker who was retiring and whose wife was there for the retirement party. This isn't a stuffy office setting, but this isn't HR's nightmare either. That being said, I did need to find a way to put distance between coworker and myself given the reaction he got out of me even with something as simple as eye contact. So, now on to the update. I am friends with my husband's boss's wife, and gave her a call to help get his time off. His employer is very lenient on time off, and I just set it up so that they were expecting him to call out. We had a romantic extended weekend away, and it gave me a chance to really appreciate him. Thank you to the Redditors who advised putting more focus on us. I don't think I would have planned the surprise otherwise. Now, back to work. A lot has happened in the last month, and I'm planning on going no contact with coworker the very second that I can. Shortly after I returned I found out that he had put in for a transfer into my department, and had also been added onto my team. No problem, I'm an adult, I can behave like an adult, and the time away to clear my head and reevaluate where I was putting my energy had had a bigger effect than I anticipated. Well, things got a little weird. He started grabbing me coffee when he'd pick his up because I took on a new project and was showing up earlier/staying later than normal, but didn't do this for anyone else whose workload had increased. About 4 of us took on new clients. Our lunches lined up a little more frequently, I got friend/follow requests on social media declined, stuff like that. I felt like he would stand a little closer to me than what was comfortable, but at this point still felt like I was reading too much into it. It was confusing, and difficult given that this feeling isn't wanted, but I do just feel drawn to him, like there's a connection I desperately want to break. I always park by the smoking section because I have a filthy habit and like to be close, and he caught me tonight while I was walking out to my car. He stopped me and asked to bum a smoke, and we talked for a couple of minutes. He then said he had something kind of uncomfortable to talk to me about. He told me he had felt really attracted to me since we first met, and that working more closely with me has shown him that he has some real feelings for me. He says he knows that I'm married and will respect any boundaries I set up, but that he hasn't felt this strongly about someone before and he couldn't live with the what-ifs. Apparently he went so far as to end things with his girlfriend, and is now staying with his parents for a couple of weeks while he gets a new place lined up. He said he could feel something between us and didn't think it was only him. I told him that I am very happily married and that he shouldn't mistake my friendliness with flirtation, and that he needs to learn more appropriate boundaries with coworkers. I asked him to give me distance and that if it wasn't work-related there was no reason to discuss it because we are coworkers, not friends, and left. He looked a little defeated and apologized for overstepping. My husband is out of town on a work trip so I had to come home to an empty house feeling the weirdest mix of emotions I've had since this whole mess started. Like he mentioned in my last post, this is most definitely something wonky going on with our pheromones causing the weird flutter of emotions. The way he came across letting me know he was okay if I cheated on my husband with him painted him in a whole new light. He doesn't seem like this charming guy anymore, just a douchebag who probably hasn't been told no enough times in his life. I have trouble falling asleep by myself and this whole situation has been a mess, so sorry for any weird formatting. I'm exhausted and figured I may as well update while everything is fresh. I'm confused. I still think he's really attractive but I'm not equally repulsed by him as a person overall. TLDR, the quickest way to get me to lose interest in someone is for them to make a move on me, apparently. Coworker is a sleazeball. Fuck pheromones. Still feel physically attracted to coworker, but not getting the nervousness that comes with it now that I think he's such a douche. Edit. Well, this certainly blew up way more than expected. I just wanted to thank those of you who responded with advice and kind words. A special thanks to everyone who didn't read the first post and have been calling me a tease and a slut. It's nice to get a good laugh in. To those who missed my comments addressing it, my husband will be given full details of our encounters when he returns home. I don't want him getting worked up while he's so far away. I won't be telling him about my feelings towards coworker, because they are irrelevant to the situation that is now progressing. Anyways, mini update. I didn't go into work today, but I did get an email from coworker. It starts with what seems like a sincere apology to then offering to buy me dinner this weekend to make it up to me. I responded with your advances made me very uncomfortable, and I will say again that I am not interested in setting you outside of work. His second email was another apology while making sure I knew the offer for dinner as friends to make it up to me would still be on the table. I did not respond to the second one, and he has not reached out again today. I am in a bit of a weird place. Growing a bigger dislike towards coworker, while still having those weird primal feelings. Planning a nice dinner in and some Netflix and chill when my husband gets home. Definitely putting in for a department change when one becomes available. I've spent a little time browsing job postings, but I do love where I work so I don't think that's the best solution. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Make sure you tell your husband what happened if you haven't already. Reply. I talked to him a bit before bed and let him know the gist of it. I didn't want him getting worked up while he was away so I just told him a coworker asked me on a date and we joked about it a little. I'll be going into detail with him once he gets back, though. Commenter 2. You did a great job as a spouse. I wouldn't go so far as to call the guy a sleazeball. I mean, he told you he has an attraction to you in a very similar way that you had with him. He approached you respectfully to let you know, and gave you a chance to set boundaries since you are married and he is single. I think you are both really good people who had a crazy attraction to one another. It happens. So let's character assassinate the guy for being upfront about his feelings and giving you the opportunity to address the situation. Reply. I disagree, but in an attempt to keep my post short I didn't go into quite as much detail as I maybe should have. He made it pretty clear that he was open to having an affair with me, which screams sleazy in my book. Commenter 3. At this point, you need to set real boundaries, even at work. If he brings you coffee, decline. Tries to stand or sit too close, physically move away from him. You may be attracted to him, but the only thing you can control is your own behavior. Hopefully, the rejection will be enough and he will just keep his distance from you. Reply. Absolutely. I'm also considering putting in for a transfer as well when a new position becomes open. I love my company and don't want to leave over something as trivial as this, but I also just need to get away. Commenter 4. Now all you have to do is the follow-through. Making sure every day you shut him down in your mind, and that any additional advances are taken to HR, as you have already let him know that you are not interested. It might seem extreme, but it is necessary if you want to stay faithful to your husband. Reply. I called my boss this morning and let them know what happened. While I'm not interested in talking to HR straight away, if this happens again I want a reference point to be able to bring up that way I don't get any sort of why didn't you say anything to anyone when this stayed. Stories number 8. My fiancé's sister told me I should tone down my engagement ring because it makes her feel insecure. So, I 27F got engaged about 2 months ago to my fiancé, Daniel 29M. We've been together for 4 years, and honestly, he's the love of my life. When he proposed, he gave me the most beautiful engagement ring I've ever seen. It's not some giant celebrity-style diamond, but it's a classic 1.5 carat solitaire on a platinum band. To me, it's absolutely perfect. Daniel spent months saving for it, and when he gave it to me, I cried. Not just because of the ring itself, but because of what it represented. It wasn't about the money, it was about the fact that he wanted me to have something that showed how much he loved me. Anyway, I was on cloud 9, until I started noticing his sister, Amanda 31F, acting weird. The first comment. The first time Amanda saw the ring, she just said, "Wow, that's big." The tone wasn't exactly congratulatory. I brushed it off because some people just say awkward things. But then she followed it up with, I've never really liked flashy jewelry. I think it kind of screams, look at me. I laughed it off and told her I liked simple, elegant pieces, and this ring felt like me. She didn't say much after that. The group dinner. A few weeks later, Daniel and I went to dinner with his family, his parents, Linda 58F and Greg 60M, and Amanda. We're all sitting there, and Amanda suddenly says, loud enough for the whole table, "Emily's ring is gorgeous, but don't you think it's a little much for everyday life? Like, you're gonna blind someone with that thing." I could feel my cheeks burning. I just smiled and said, "I love it, and I'll wear it every day." Daniel squeezed my hand under the table, but I could tell he was annoyed too. After dinner, in the car, Daniel said, "Don't let Amanda get to you. She's always been competitive." The toned down request. Fast forward to last week. Amanda and I were hanging out at her apartment because Daniel was helping Greg fix something at the family's house. Out of nowhere, Amanda says, "Can I be honest? I feel like your ring makes me look bad. Like, when we're out together, people probably compare mine to yours, and it's kind of embarrassing. Maybe you could, I don't know, tone it down sometimes." I asked what she meant, and she straight up suggested I should get a more modest band for everyday wear, and only bring out my engagement ring for special occasions. I was stunned. I told her, "Amanda, this is my engagement ring. I wear it because my fiancé gave it to me, not to compete with anyone." She rolled her eyes and said, "You don't get it. Not everyone has a fiancé who can drop thousands on a ring. It makes me feel less than." For context, Amanda has been dating her boyfriend Kyle 32M for about 2 years. I've seen her ring, it's a small sapphire with a thin gold band. Pretty, but definitely more understated. The blow-up. When Daniel came to pick me up, I told him what Amanda said. He was furious. He confronted her right there in her apartment and said, "Emily doesn't need to tone down anything. I bought that ring for her, and she's going to wear it proudly. If you're insecure about your relationship, that's not our problem." Amanda started crying, saying we were ganging up on her. She told Daniel he was being cruel and that he shouldn't rub his money in her face. We left, and now it's a whole thing. The fallout. Linda, his mom, texted me later that night saying she thought Amanda was just jealous and that I shouldn't take it personally. Greg, on the other hand, thinks Daniel was too harsh and should apologize to keep the peace. Now Amanda won't talk to either of us. She told Kyle that I was flaunting my ring, and apparently Kyle made a comment to Daniel like, "Man, did you really have to go all out? You know my girlfriend is sensitive about stuff like that." So now both of them are basically mad at us. Where I stand, I don't want to apologize because I don't think I did anything wrong. I love my ring, I wear it because Daniel gave it to me, and it's a symbol of our relationship. I don't think I should have to tone it down to make Amanda feel better about herself. At the same time, I don't want this to cause a permanent rift in the family. Daniel says he'll always back me, but I know it hurts him to be at odds with his sister. Part of me wonders if I should just buy a simple band to wear sometimes, not because Amanda asked, but to avoid drama. But another part of me feels like that's giving in to her insecurity and setting a bad precedent. I honestly don't know what to do. Update. My fiancé's sister told me I should tone down my engagement ring because it makes her feel insecure. Hey everyone, it's been about 3 weeks since my original post. I didn't expect it to blow up the way it did, but I read through a ton of the comments. Thank you to everyone who gave me advice and perspective. Some of you said Amanda's feelings are her problem, not mine. Others told me to watch out for future boundary issues with her. Both sides ended up being true. So, a lot has happened. The family dinner explosion. After Amanda told me to tone down my engagement ring and Daniel defended me, things went cold. She stopped texting us completely. Then Linda, his mom, invited us all over for Sunday dinner, probably hoping to smooth things out. When we got there, Amanda and Kyle were already at the table. Amanda didn't even say hi. I tried to be polite and asked how work was going, and she said flatly, "Fine. Nothing exciting." We sit down, and about halfway through dinner, Amanda suddenly blurts out, "I still think it's ridiculous to wear a ring like that every day. It's impractical and it makes me feel like crap about mine." I froze, everyone went quiet. Then Kyle jumped in with, "She's not wrong. You could have gone more modest. You don't need to wave a diamond in everyone's face." Daniel immediately pushed back, saying, "This isn't about you two. This is about me and Emily. I wanted her to have something beautiful. If you feel insecure about it, that's not our fault." Amanda got teary, saying Daniel always shows her up and that she feels like she'll never measure up to him. She even brought up childhood stuff about how he got better grades, better jobs, etc. It turned into this huge meltdown about her always being in his shadow. Linda tried to comfort her, but Greg got frustrated and told her to stop making everything a competition. At that point, Amanda stormed out, Kyle followed her, and the night ended in total disaster. The phone call. 2 days later, Amanda called me. I thought maybe she was going to apologize. Nope. She said, "I know you didn't mean to, but you're making me look bad. People see your ring and think Kyle is cheap. You could fix this by wearing something less flashy day to day." I told her gently but firmly, "Amanda, I'm not responsible for how people perceive your relationship. I'm not going to hide the ring Daniel gave me because you're insecure. That's not fair to me or to him." She sighed and said, "I guess we'll never see eye to eye on this." Then she hung up. The social media jab. A week later, Amanda posted on Facebook publicly, "Of course. Hot take, relationships aren't about material things. Love isn't measured by the size of a rock on your finger." I didn't respond, but plenty of people commented things like, "Preach," and "So true," while others congratulated her on being above the superficial stuff. It was very obviously directed at me. Even Daniel's aunt messaged me privately asking if I'd seen it. I laughed it off, but deep down, it stung. It's not about the ring, it's about her painting me as shallow when I've literally said a million times it's not about the money. The breaking point. The real kicker came last weekend. We were at Greg and Linda's again without Amanda this time, and Linda sat me down in the kitchen. She said she loves me and Daniel, but she asked if I'd consider wearing a plain band sometimes, just to keep the peace. I almost cried. I told her, "Linda, I love you, but I can't do that. This isn't about the ring. It's about Amanda's insecurities. If I give in now, she'll keep finding ways to make me feel guilty for things that aren't my fault." To my surprise, Linda actually nodded and said, "You're right. I just want my kids to get along. But I see now that Amanda has to work on herself." That felt like a little win. Where things stand now, Amanda is still not speaking to us. Kyle texted Daniel saying he should man up and apologize for humiliating Amanda at dinner. Daniel hasn't responded. Honestly, I'm torn. Part of me feels awful that this has driven such a wedge in the family. The other part of me knows I haven't done anything wrong. I love my fiancé, I love my ring, and I refuse to feel guilty for either. Right now, I'm focusing on wedding planning and trying not to let this overshadow everything. But I have a gut feeling this isn't the last time Amanda will try to stir up drama. Update TLDR, Amanda is still upset, confronted us at family dinner, then made a social media jab. Daniel defended me, his parents are split, mom wants peace, dad is fed up, and Amanda wants me to tone down my ring or else. I'm not budging. Final update, my fiancé's sister told me to tone down my engagement ring. Hey everyone, it's been about 6 months since my last update and, wow. If you thought things were tense before, buckle up, because the wedding planning basically blew the whole situation wide open. The bridesmaid dilemma. Originally, I had asked Amanda to be one of my bridesmaids. Despite everything, I wanted to include her because family is family, and Daniel felt it would mean a lot. But as time went on, it became obvious that was a mistake. At the dress fitting, Amanda made a snide comment like, "Well, at least we know all eyes will be on your ring and not your dress." The other bridesmaids awkwardly laughed it off, but I was mortified. Later that night, she texted me saying she was considering stepping down as a bridesmaid because she didn't want to feel overshadowed. I responded, "That's entirely your choice. No pressure from me. But if you don't want to stand up with me on my wedding day, I'd rather you step down now than create resentment later." The next morning, she officially quit. The Facebook post, part 2. Not even a week later, she went on Facebook again. This time, she wrote, "Some people think love is about flashy rings, big weddings, and showing off. Real love is quiet, humble, and doesn't need validation." Kyle chimed in with a "Preach babe" comment. Daniel saw it and finally snapped. He called Amanda and said, "Enough is enough. If you keep publicly attacking Emily, don't bother showing up to the wedding." Amanda cried, said she was just being honest, and hung up on him. The wedding day drama. Fast forward to the wedding. Amanda and Kyle did end up coming, but it was tense. Amanda didn't speak to me the entire day. She wore a whitish champagne dress, not full white, but close enough to raise eyebrows. During the reception, she made a toast that started fine but then turned weird. She said, "Marriage isn't about material things or shiny jewelry. It's about love." And I hope Daniel and Emily remember that when things get hard. Everyone went silent. You could feel the discomfort ripple through the room. Daniel's dad, Greg, literally stood up mid-toast and clapped loudly to cut her off. Then he gave his own quick, heartfelt toast to us to smooth things over. Afterward, several guests pulled me aside to ask what that was about. I just smiled and said Amanda has strong opinions. But inside, I was furious. The fallout after the wedding. After the honeymoon, Daniel and I sat down and agreed we needed boundaries. He called Amanda and told her point blank, "Your behavior has been cruel and toxic. Until you can treat Emily with respect, we need space." Amanda screamed that I was turning him against his family, and hung up. Kyle sent a nasty text about how I was materialistic and not a real partner. Since then, we've cut off contact. Linda, his mom, is heartbroken, but even she admitted Amanda's behavior at the wedding was embarrassing. Greg is 100% done with her antics. It's sad, but Daniel and I are finally at peace. I look at my ring every day and think not about Amanda's jealousy, but about how much Daniel loves me and wanted me to have something special. Where we are now, we're married, happy, and moving forward. Amanda hasn't spoken to us since the wedding day. We've heard through the grapevine that she tells people we're materialistic and fake, but honestly, we don't care anymore. Sometimes family doesn't want to grow, and all you can do is protect your peace. TLDR. Amanda made constant jabs about my engagement ring, quit being a bridesmaid, made a passive-aggressive wedding toast, and doubled down afterward. My husband finally set boundaries, and now we're low contact with her. Marriage is good, and the drama ring saga is officially closed. Stories number 9. Our newborn 1mo is making me see my wife as stupid, and it's turning me into an asshole. I feel awful and need to stop. Guys, I'm in a really bad place and I need a reality check. My wife is my best friend. I love her, she's a great person, kind, loyal, all of it. We've been married 3 years. But I feel like my wife is slow. I know that sounds horrible, and I feel like a total asshole even typing it. For years, it's been a thing. She needs me for anything technical or requires problem solving. Like, I've had to FaceTime her to show her how to find something in her banking app multiple times. It's not just tech stuff either, it's a bunch of things. We have a totally different sense of humor. I had to literally explain to her what a meme was a while back. And I'll be honest, for a while I didn't mind. I'm an IT guy, so this stuff is easy for me. Part of me liked being the guy who could fix things for her. It made me feel needed, you know. It was just a little quirk, not a big deal. But now we have a 1-month-old baby, and it's like this small issue has become a monster that's destroying everything. She just doesn't get it. How to hold him right. How to change a diaper without him screaming. I show her over and over. She tries, I know she's trying so hard, but it's like she does everything wrong. She'll do something that makes no sense and the baby starts wailing, and I have to step in. I've read about mom brain or whatever, but shouldn't she be more in tune with the baby? I feel like I'm the one who knows what he needs, and she's just fumbling. And my patience is just gone. Completely shot. I'm snapping at her. I'm being sharp and critical and I can see on her face that I'm just crushing her. And then I feel like the biggest piece of shit on the planet. This has to be my fault. We're both so tired. I know this is supposed to be a team effort, but I'm acting like her drill sergeant, and a shitty one at that. I'm hurting the person I love most when she needs me most. How do I fix this? How do I stop being so angry? Has anyone been here before? I feel like I'm ruining everything. Comments. Commenter 1. She's a month postpartum. I have a master's, but when I was a month out I struggled to figure out basic things. Working the microwave, I went to the doctor and they said it's not that unusual but I should watch in case it turns into PPD. Commenter 2. This has more to do with the stress of dealing with a newborn than any problem between you and your wife. It should get better as the baby grows up. Commenter 3. Some people crumble when they feel like they're under a microscope. She's probably already nervous because new babies seem so fragile and she's worried about doing the wrong thing. I imagine some of this is performance anxiety rather than incompetence. Also, it's only been 1 month. Do you think you could pick your battles better? A baby crying during a diaper change is not irregular or world-ending. A baby crying in general is not the end of the world assuming they aren't in true danger. You two don't need to be perfect parents, because that's not possible. And your wife probably needs to be more confident in her own decision-making. But if you treat her as if she's an idiot and don't give her space to learn, which necessarily includes fucking up sometime, she's not going to build that confidence. It may also be helpful to accept that your way is not always the best way and let her do things differently than how you do them. That doesn't mean letting her harm the baby, but something tells me she isn't actually putting the baby at risk at every turn. Be easier on yourself too. You're new parents and this is one of the biggest challenges you'll go through as a couple. You're both doing your best. Commenter 4. Did you not take parenting classes? Let her learn. Babies scream. They cry. Some moms don't get in tune with their babies right away, some never do. You need to stop helicoptering her and let her get a feel for it. She will never learn if you don't let her. Drop the lead. Unless she does something dangerous, then there is no need for you to be breathing down her neck. She's still postpartum and dealing with all that. She doesn't need you judging her so harshly when in reality her brain is already doing that for her. Commenter 5. The baby is a month old and you're mad because she's not more in tune with the baby. This is your reality check. Mom brain is not, or whatever, postpartum symptoms such as depression, confusion, or worse don't just go away after she's given birth. Her body pushed a ton of hormones in the past month and is depleted and in need of recovering in a safe place where she can count on her partner to take some of the load, and you're snapping at her for not ing right. Let me tell you, she is at her most vulnerable the first 6 months, and if you don't get your SHT together and stop treating this like an IT issue that has a solution, you may never get her back. She will remember this. Commenter 6. First, stop making this a competition of you versus her and who's the better parent. You are meant to be a united front and a team facing your problems together. Next, stop assuming all women are nurturing and take to parenting like a duck to water. It's a misogynistic trope to assume we all know how to hold a baby or what to do with a newborn. Many people take time to adjust and learn these things. Next, cut her some slack as she was the one conceiving, carrying, and birthing your child. You think you're exhausted but have zero concept of the changes she has experienced in the last 11 months and is still going through. It can take up to a year for some women to return to pre-pregnancy anything including hormones and brain function. Depending on her upbringing, she may have trauma or have been conditioned to something called learned helplessness, where she was expected to know nothing or be rated for having knowledge or skills. She may have been encouraged to be dependent on others to teach and show her things. That doesn't mean she is useless, but it does mean she needs support in a way that doesn't berate her or view her as stupid. She may well need therapy. And definitely a lot more encouragement to believe she is capable and knowledgeable and able to learn. Come at the problem from a place of compassion and wanting to solve the problem together. Don't allow contempt to build unnecessarily. Stories number 10. For serving my ex-wife divorce papers while she was at work. For context, I 35F was married to my wife 33F for 8 years until I called quits because she cheated on me with a coworker. Just to paint the picture, we met when we were really young and were in a college class together. We were each other's best friends and I thought I really lucked out. In our relationship, she was the person who was making more money, she worked in marketing and had her parents' support, and I worked in education. Everything was going well, or so I thought. 2 years ago, I got promoted to an administrative position at work and became busier. Last January, I noticed that she became more and more distant. I'm guilty of this too, for not being able to see it sooner and being more focused at work. I tried to reach out to her, i.e. suggesting that we go on dates or to just talk to each other, but I was always shut down. I even said we should try counseling because I was noticing that we weren't talking to each other anymore unless it was about bills, groceries, or if our dogs were fed. There were times where she said that she would stay longer at the office because she was trying to finish something. The sometimes became more frequent, and there were times where she didn't even come home. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what was happening, but I couldn't say anything until I could prove it. Fast forward to June and I was able to get the chance when I got a notification for a transaction on our joint credit card for a trip to Australia. Usually, I'm not the type of person to go looking into someone's phones or laptops, but this time, I was just seething. I guess this was also a reason for her to be very brave about never deleting her conversations. I pulled up her laptop and opened her browser to her emails where she had paid for her and her mistress. I was gut-wrenched, but I had to dig a little deeper. I opened her Instagram account and lo and behold, the conversations were there. I gathered my things and moved out of our house that night. She didn't even try to ask for me back, it's like I never even existed. No calls about where I was or if I was even alive. I think that hurt me the most. I was so heartbroken, I just wanted her to at least care. The trip to Australia is so ironic because she was willing to take her mistress away, but in the years we were married, we never took vacations together. That stung a little bit. That's when I knew that she didn't actually love me like I loved her. Fast forward to now, my lawyers said we needed to serve her the divorce papers and it needed to be in person. The thought of seeing her and interacting with her makes me physically sick. I told my lawyers that I don't know when she'll be home or if she still goes home to the same address. So I had recommended that they serve her the papers at work between 3 to 5 p.m. A couple of our friends heard of what I did and they were mad at me for embarrassing her at work. My best friend says that I did the right thing, an eye for an eye, she says. Just need to know if I made the right decision because at this point it feels like every decision I make is wrong. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you needed to pick a place you knew she'd be. She should be embarrassed. Commenter 2. Someone who cheats doesn't get to be mad about how they are served divorce papers. Commenter 3. Tell your friends that she had no problem embarrassing you by booking a trip around the world with her mistress, so respect for her had a one-way ticket to Brisbane. If they continue to argue, let them know they can bounce themselves all the way out of your life. Also, I'd put money on those friends knowing she was cheating. Commenter 4. NTA. Has to be somewhere not home and not by you. What were your options exactly? I literally did the same thing. I had a friend serve my cheating ex at work as well. She wasn't pleased. I don't care. I did what I needed, so did you. Stories number 11. I 30F may lose my long-term boyfriend 32M over a mistake and I'm spiraling. I 30F made an unintentional mistake which might have cost me my relationship. I have a male friend from a long time ago who I recently reconnected with. When I told my boyfriend 32M that I will probably be meeting up with the male friend for a catch-up, my BF asked me if me and him had ever had any kind of relationship in the past. We absolutely have never been intimate, but we have had flirty texts in the past. The problem is I completely forgot that these happened because it was so long ago before my BF and I even met and because I don't see him or remember him in that way. The flirty texts genuinely did not occur to me when my BF asked about my history with this male friend, so I said no. If I had remembered at the time, I would have absolutely mentioned these to my BF when he asked because I have no problem being honest with him about things in my past, but I genuinely did not remember that these texts had occurred. My BF went through my phone in my sleep a few days ago because I guess he was suspicious and found the flirty texts from 2 years before he and I met. He's obviously really upset and doesn't believe me when I say I genuinely forgot about these when he asked about the male friend. I fear he may end things with me over this. We've been together for 4 years, have future plans to marry and have kids, and have planned our life together. I cannot lose him over this mistake. I love him so much and I fear I won't be able to carry on if I do. Please help. Also, my BF has my phone password and full access to my phone, and always has done. If I were lying about these texts then surely I would have deleted them off my phone ages ago. Why would I allow him access to my phone whenever he wants if I knew these texts were there? I feel like this helps to prove that I genuinely forgot about the existence of these texts, and I've mentioned this point to him over text but he is yet to reply. Comments. Commenter 1. I'd like to know. I'm straight male but my male friends and I have super flirty messages with each other, and if you have no context of our relationships you would think we were dating. Funny story, our friends group are in a Discord channel and we would sometimes invite outside friends. We have two straight male married friends making sexual jokes and innuendos to each other. It's how we all talk to each other really, and this outside friend thought they were in a gay relationship. And quite frankly, I don't blame him for thinking that. Commenter 2. Offer to have your BF come with you to meet old friend. Commenter 3. Besides giving him access to your phone, have you made other sacrifices and concessions in the past to try to convince him that you're not cheating? Has his suspicion been a running theme through your relationship? Commenter 4. My ex would regularly demand to see my phone and emails. He'd spend hours going through them. I had given him 0 reasons. I was abused mentally and sexually for 7 years by that man. It's been almost a decade since I managed to leave him. I held a knife behind my back and I still have nightmares. The jealousy was how it started. OP's boyfriend scrolling back 2 years is psychotic and she needs to run. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my wife she needs to be accountable for her actions. My wife 30F and I 35M bought our house 5 years ago and it needs work, but time and money are always a constraint. Right now, my wife is not working while she goes back to school and I'm working second shift as the sole earner. Since my wife is home more than me, she has been handling most of the work that's been done around the house, including dealing with contractors. She comes from a family of DIYers who tend to shoot from the hip with projects, while I prefer to have a plan in place before we do any work. And the most recent projects that she's spearheaded have been, in my opinion, subpar. Some examples: our privacy fence gate doesn't close right and she hasn't gotten a contractor to come to fix it for months. The internet line wasn't buried deeply enough by the contractors, and I think she should have sent them away when they didn't have the right equipment. She decided, without my input, to use a cleanser on our house before restraining it, and the cleanser left streaks in the wood that cannot be covered by the stain. We have a wooden sculpture in our yard that she did not clean and it is dark and dirty and looks like shit. She doesn't see anything wrong with it. Most recently we had gutter work done, and I wanted a gutter put on the back of our new shed. She forgot to tell the contractor where I wanted the downspout and he put it in the opposite corner, so now the water is just going to collect behind the shed, which is exactly what I wanted to avoid. She called me at work to give me this news and I spent the rest of the day frustrated. When I got home, I asked what we were going to do about this and she said something about fixing it ourselves. I told her that it would never be right if we fixed it ourselves, that I already paid for the work to be done right the first time and we're just pissing away money and time with needing to redo all these projects that she's been half-assing. I asked if she even cared about the quality of work that is being done on the house and said that maybe she shouldn't be involved with any more projects on the house unless communication improves. She just sat in silence and slept on the couch without speaking to me. This morning, I asked if she was going to talk to me and she said I don't know. I was exasperated and asked if she could just tell me what is wrong and she replied, I'm scared of you. She told me she wished I had approached the issue by looking for a solution and I told her that she just doesn't want to be accountable for her actions. She said she just wants us to be partners. I could be the asshole for how I went about telling her about my feelings, but I feel like there's no way for me to give her negative feedback without her freaking out. Am I the asshole for telling my wife that she needs to be accountable for her actions? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Info. Did you calmly tell her maybe she shouldn't be involved in any more projects as you've written, or were you more forceful? I've seen women feign fear to keep men from holding them to task, but it feels like something's missing. Reply. I told her that we had 3 options: stopping all projects, her not being involved in any projects, or we get better at communicating. Obviously the last option is my preference. Commenter 2. Based on your own words, you responded in an accusatory tone. I told her that she just doesn't want to be accountable for her actions right after she admitted she was scared of you. I highly doubt this is her feigning fear, as a different user speculated. After being barraged the night before, your wife gave constructive criticism on how she would prefer to discuss sensitive topics in the future, in a more partner-focused, kind, and solution-based way. You broached this entire subject with frustration and accused her of carelessness and pissing away money seemingly without bringing up a communication issue or less drastic solutions at all. Instead, you jumped straight to suggesting that she should be removed from all projects. With this kind of angry and accusatory reaction, it's not at all crazy to think that she would be silent and afraid of you. Seems like it was just a way for you to blow off steam and shame her. Her request for you to communicate in a kind and constructive way is not ridiculous in the slightest, just as much as it's not ridiculous to want things in your house to be done well or for her to communicate better. But words do matter and how you wield them has consequences. Just remember what your true priority is here. Is it the project, or is it having a loving partnership with your wife? After you decide on these priorities, then you can work together on how to deal with the house projects. Or not work together at all. Commenter 3, she replied, I'm scared of you. That should scare you. There is no reason your reaction should be so outsized that it is making your adult partner afraid. All of these projects are things that are not emergencies. They are things that if they go wrong it sucks, but it is fixable, maybe not on the time frame you wanted, but it is still fixable. The way your wife is feeling may damage your relationship in a way that is not fixable. YTA, commenter 4, YTA, OP, you want to call all the shots while having her do all the work. In your mind, it's her job to silently and smoothly assure that everything ends up as you wanted it. It's as if you were the boss and she were your assistant, whose job it is to carry out your wishes. If she fails at getting your way for you, you feel entitled to accuse her of half-assing and pissing away money and all kinds of other things, blaming and shaming out frustration that she didn't fulfill your wishes correctly. She isn't the one with the communication problem. She would like to have a civil discussion and approach problems as partners, while you'd rather accuse that she just doesn't want to be accountable for her actions. That being the case, unless communication improves is entirely on you. I absolutely do believe that she is scared of you. You drip with superiority. You think you're better than your wife, entitled to tell her what to do and to judge how well she carries the instructions out, and that's a huge red flag. I hope you two don't have kids. Commenter 5, YTA. If you have a specific way you want something done, then you handle the contractor's phones work great for this. It sounds like your wife is nervous about doing anything or not doing anything because you manage to criticize her regardless. I bet you manage to make her feel stupid just for asking. Honestly, you sound like a jerk. Commenter 6, YTA. I lived with a guy like you, blew up for nothing with the results of stepping on eggs around him. Nothing you say here is end of the world and need to fix right now. Plus how is it her fault the contractor you picked did a subpar job? She is not an expert on everything and by the way, neither is you. Choose better contractors if they are so bad. Let me guess, the price was right. Update, AITA for telling my wife she needs to be accountable for her actions. We covered a lot of topics in the weeks following that incident. We had a couples therapy session to talk about strategies and communication. I saw one of my coworkers react in anger and frustration instead of taking the time to become calm and realized from the outside looking in just how unproductive his behavior was. And then my wife showed me a section of one of our self-help books. It's called The 5 Personality Patterns and my therapist had recommended it to me a while back. We had been reading it together, my wife and I, but then we got busy and we stopped. She picked it back up after our fight and read about the leaving pattern. She underlined a bunch of sections and read them to me. And I finally understood. I grew up in a house where my parents screamed and yelled at each other or picked fights in order to storm out of the house, and that's how I used to interpret my wife's silence. As a way to win the fight. In reality, when she became silent, she was terrified. She wasn't stonewalling me, or trying to win the fight by manipulating me, or trying to avoid taking responsibility. She was so scared in that moment that she wasn't even in her body. She couldn't even speak, she was totally dissociated. She told me that even though she knows that how I was acting wasn't objectively scary, that her threshold for shutting down is really low. Realizing how much I scared my wife broke my heart. The descriptions of dissociation in the book were terrifying to me. My wife is the sweetest person, I love her so much and I never want her to experience what she experienced that day ever again. It changed my perspective completely. Ever since my realization, our relationship is better than ever. We laugh and tease each other playfully. We have worked on projects together. We've talked about chores and money. We've even had a couple of fights and resolved them quickly and lovingly. Our communication is better because we trust each other. My wife told me that she has never felt safer or more loved now. I won't say I'm glad the fight happened, but what I realized because of it has been a turning point in our marriage for the better. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, okay, but what about the fact that she keeps fucking your house up? LOL, where is the resolution of that? Reply, just because I was frustrated with the quality of the work done so far, doesn't mean she was fucking our house up. In the end, she called the contractor and they fixed the gutter installation and fence gate at no charge. She personally fixed the marks on the house and we agreed to clean the sculpture in the spring. Part of what we learned is that when I would open up the conversation with anger, she would get defensive and we never got to a solution. By softening my approach, she wouldn't get defensive and we could talk about solutions together. Commenter 2. Info. Sure, that's all great, but what about the downspout issue? Did that ever get resolved? /S. Reply. She called the contractor and they fixed it for no charge. They agreed that where the first guy put the downspout made no sense. Commenter 3. Well I'm glad you fixed your mistake, but she fixed hers about knowing how to communicate. I think that time it was an ESH and here we see how you changed for the better, but what about your wife? Do I take into account your bad communication? It is useless for only one to fix their problems if the other maintains theirs. Reply. Both my wife and I have been in therapy for a while now and she has been working on her communication with her therapist. All I can say is that she has told me that feeling safe with me makes her feel safe communicating more. Commenter 4. I want to recognize OP for being the kind of person who can actively look at themselves, hear criticism, understand what they did wrong, apologize, and then change that behavior. Not every partner would be that committed to their spouse, hell, not everyone would be that respectful to their spouse. It sounds like you two are finding new adventures and joys in life together, your combined communication skills are to be applauded. Have a fantastic life. Commenter 5. Not every partner truly loves their spouse. Apparently OP actually does. That's the only thing that causes the changes you're rightfully highlighting. Commenter 6. This makes me so happy, it's heartbreaking when I read get a divorce as advice. Marriage is like a house, at first everything is shiny and brand new but over the years it's lived in, worn out, and needs maintenance. Eventually you'll need a new roof, so what do? Buy a new house or repair your roof? If you buy a new house eventually you have the same issues with the new house because you never learned to repair your first house. Kudos for repairing your roof, marriage. I can totally relate to the construction projects. We are almost finished with a $100,000 remodel of my backyard. I cannot tell you how many times I was asked something and totally gave the deer in the headlights look. They completely tore out my pool and moved it over several feet away from the pool house. When he asked me if I was happy with the pool placement, I didn't know what to say other than, you moved it over. Is that why you brought all of the dirt and filled it back up? I felt so stupid. I just said okay cool, looks good to me. Fingers crossed my husband agrees because I have no idea what to look for. Stories number 13. I think my friend accidentally poisoned her dog, causing its death today. I have no idea if I should even tell her. Long title, I know. My best friend called me today after she got home from her part-time job, sobbing that her 10-year-old husky had died. It took a minute for me to really understand what was happening, but I was as dumbfounded as she was. He was healthy, happy, and she always updated me with pictures or stories of his crazy behavior. She mentioned he had spells in the past couple months where he'd breathe heavier, or he'd sometimes go into full zoom eyes at random times where she couldn't calm him down. Overall he was a great dog, super sweet and loving, curious and friendly to pretty much everyone. I went over to console her and be some emotional support, and while we were hugging and sobbing, she relayed some details. The main one. She'd been feeding him grapes because he loved grapes, she gave him a couple in the morning before work and when she got home this afternoon, he was literally dying on the floor in her bedroom. His favorite corner to sleep in and scratch, she found him there with labored breathing, some wetness around his backside/genitals, in really bad shape. She was able to hug him and say she loved him before he died in her arms. I've been just as much a wreck as her, that boy was her life and was such a sweet, gentle dog. I've been doing my best to console her, share experiences and really just let her dump emotions on me because that's what friends do. At the same time, I know the grapes helped take him away. I don't think she's aware of the danger of certain foods with dogs, but at the same time I don't want to present dog toxicology 101 to her when she's grieving the loss of an animal she saw as a child. I have no idea how to proceed. I've been supportive so far and offering condolences, but I worry that if I tell her, be it the near or far future, she'll blame herself and or hate me for not speaking up. Advice? Thoughts? I honestly have no idea what to do. I want to do the right thing, but also don't want to amplify her grief. Sorry in advance if this is the wrong place, I'm just looking for some guidance even if it's from strangers at this point. Comments. Commenter 1. This is hard. On one hand, she needs to know this information. Not specifically to feel bad, but so she doesn't feed her next dog, or a friend's dog grapes. However, telling her now could very easily transform her grief into crushing guilt, and that won't help her healing. This is a tough call. I would tell her, but not now. But not too far in the future either. Commenter 2. Imagine she has a friend that has a dog and she feeds that dog grapes because she remembered how much her dog loved grapes. She needs to know. Commenter 3. This is one where when she gets a new dog, find one of those videos that mentions all the foods that are dangerous to dogs and share it to her as something you have just discovered. Commenter 4. Suggest she gets a necropsy and let the vet explain to her that you shouldn't feed dogs grapes. Also, it probably wasn't the grapes. Both of you would have 100% known he was seriously ill if he was suffering kidney failure. If the grapes were the cause, it's one of those things with some very alarming and very obvious symptoms. For one, the dog would have been emaciated. The description of his symptoms sounds more like some kind of cardiac issue, especially in an older dog. Your friend would likely benefit greatly from a necropsy, because she'll be told not to feed dogs grapes and will likely also be told that it wasn't the grapes that killed him. Push heavily for it. Stories number 14. My sister's maid of honor speech ruined my wedding, and I kicked her out. I 27F, let's call me Sarah, got married last weekend to my now husband Jake 29M. I thought this was going to be the happiest day of my life. The ceremony went beautifully, the venue was gorgeous, our friends and family showed up, and everything felt perfect, until my sister, Megan 24F, opened her mouth at the reception. Some background. Megan and I have always had kind of a complicated relationship. We're close in the way sisters are, you fight, you make up, but there's always an undercurrent of competition. Growing up, Megan was the wild child, while I was more of the responsible one. Our parents Mark and Linda babied her a lot because she was the youngest, while I was pushed to be independent. Fast forward, I went to college, built a career, met Jake, and now we're married. Megan, on the other hand, is currently pregnant. The dad Ryan, 25M is, well, complicated. They're not officially together, but they're not completely broken up either. Their relationship has been rocky at best, toxic at worst. Everyone in the family knows Megan's pregnancy hasn't been the smoothest, lots of stress, lots of tears, and a lot of what-ifs about her future. I've tried to be supportive without judgment. I included her as my maid of honor because, despite everything, she's still my sister and I wanted her by my side. The toast from hell. At the reception, after dinner, it was time for speeches. Jake's best man, Ethan 30M, gave a funny, heartwarming toast that had everyone laughing and tearing up. Then it was Megan's turn. She started out fine. I'm so happy for my sister Sarah, she looks beautiful tonight, and Jake, you're a lucky man. I was smiling, expecting something heartfelt. But then she added, at least one of us got a man before we ended up with a baby first. The entire room went dead silent. Forks clinked against plates, people shifted uncomfortably. My stomach dropped. She knows how sensitive things have been. She knows her situation is rough. But to drag it into my wedding toast? I plastered on a smile, thinking maybe she just fumbled her words. I tried to laugh it off. But then she kept going. I guess some of us just aren't cut out to be the perfect wife type, but hey, at least I'll give mom and dad the first grandchild. You could hear the collective gasp. My parents smiled awkwardly, trying to wave it off, but I could see the shock on Jake's parents' faces, on my friends' faces, on literally everyone's faces. And that was it. I snapped. The fallout at the reception. I stood up, walked right over, and said into the mic, nope. We're not doing this tonight. Give me the mic and get out. The room was silent except for a few awkward laughs. Megan tried to protest, saying, I'm just joking, relax, but I wasn't having it. Jake immediately backed me up. He literally waved security over the venue, had staff for that, and they escorted Megan out. She stormed off, crying and cursing under her breath. Afterward, the party did recover, our DJ saved the mood, people danced, we had cake, and honestly, I had a great time once she was gone. But the drama didn't stop there. The aftermath. Half my family thinks I was in the right. Jake's family and most of my friends absolutely think I did the right thing. They said Megan humiliated me on my own wedding day, and she needed to be shut down. But my parents? Totally furious. My mom Linda pulled me aside the next morning and said, you humiliated your pregnant sister in front of everyone. You could have just ignored it. Everyone would have forgotten by the next song. My dad Mark agreed, saying I overreacted and that now the family is split over what happened. Apparently Megan is telling people I kicked a pregnant woman out into the street. Which isn't even true, her boyfriend Ryan picked her up, and she wasn't stranded. Since the wedding, I've been getting passive-aggressive texts from relatives saying things like, family is forever, weddings are one day, you'll regret pushing your sister away when the baby comes. You ruined your own wedding by making a scene. Meanwhile, Jake is furious on my behalf. He keeps telling me I did nothing wrong and that Megan chose to make a spectacle at my wedding. Where I'm at now, honestly, I don't regret kicking her out. My wedding was supposed to be about me and Jake, not about my sister's drama. But now, weeks later, I'm stuck wondering, did I overreact? Should I have just ignored her? Or was I right to draw the line then and there? Because as much as I love Megan, I can't shake how intentional it felt. Like she wanted to drag me down into her misery and make my big day about her. TLDR, my sister gave a maid of honor speech at my wedding that turned into a public dig about her being pregnant and me being the perfect wife. I kicked her out mid-speech. Half my family thinks I was right, half thinks I ruined the wedding by humiliating a pregnant woman. Comments. Commenter 1. Your family focusing on you, making a scene, instead of calling out how cruel her words were is wild. Being pregnant doesn't excuse being disrespectful. Protecting your happiness on your wedding day was absolutely the right move. Absolutely NTA. Reply. Thank you, this is exactly how I feel. It blows my mind that my family is more upset about me reacting than about what she actually said. I get that she's pregnant and emotions are high, but that doesn't give her a free pass to humiliate me on my wedding day. I honestly felt like if I didn't stand up for myself right then, I'd regret it forever. Commenter 2. I hear that as her being self-deprecating. But I wasn't there like I'm a fuck up but you nailed it. Commenter 3. Esh. Nothing she said seemed actually mean or ill-spirited, just awkward and embarrassing for her because it makes her sound weird and insecure and self-centered. But you definitely overreacted and looked like an ass for kicking her out and acting like she attacked you when she didn't at all. Stories number 15. Aita for telling my sister her boundary will destroy her relationship with her nephew. I 30F recently got married and had a baby. My sister 24 does not like my husband and will not tell me why. When I first brought him home to introduce everyone, she was a bit standoffish but in general she doesn't really like people, very few friends, never brings anyone home to meet the family and has never wanted to spend time with anyone I brought home. Before my husband and I got married, I asked her if she had any issues with him, she said no and that he seemed nice. I asked her to be my maid of honor and thought all was well. Fast forward to last week, my husband goes to drop off something at the family home. Sister lives with my parents and came back looking shaken. I asked him what happened and he said he knocked and went into the kitchen and my sister told him my parents weren't home. He said he tried to give her the stuff I had asked him to drop off and she told him to put it in the garage. It was food, even though they were in the kitchen. He said as he was picking the stuff back up to go he tried making small talk, commenting about the weather and she snapped at him, saying don't dollar it ing talk to her and stormed out of the room. My husband has never given me reason to worry about him being inappropriate or anything but that was where my mind first went. We live near them and he had been gone for less than 5 minutes. I called my sister to ask what happened and she hung up on me, messaged her and she ignored me until this morning when I bombarded her phone with messages because I wanted to resolve whatever was going on. She finally replied and basically said she hates him, has always hated him and her only boundary is that he never talks to her. In the 7 years we have been together, they've spoken maybe 5 times and that was mostly him greeting her. I asked her why and she said she doesn't need a reason, she just doesn't like him and doesn't want him around. I asked her point blank if he had done or said something to make her feel like that and she said he didn't do anything and that she doesn't need a reason to feel how she does. Now my family is very close, my other sibling brother 29 and I sometimes dropped by unannounced to help my mom cook dinner or just hang out. My parents encourage this as they say they like having us around. I told her it's going to be weird if he can't even just greet her when we come over. She said she was sick of me having a stranger in her home. I told her I didn't realize she felt that way about him and said I wouldn't ask him to drop stuff without me being around anymore. Mind you, she's had 7 years to get to know him and I didn't realize she still considered him a stranger. She then said that that was not the point, that she didn't want him talking to her at all and that was the boundary she wanted respected. I told her that I would tell him and try to keep them apart but that would mean her time with my nephew 6 months would be affected because my husband will not be comfortable with our son being around someone who hates him. Frankly, I'm now uncomfortable with it too because I don't know what ideas she will try to put in his head. It's also going to affect my parents' time with him because if my husband can't bring him around it's going to affect the amount of times he goes over there. I didn't tell her but that hurts my heart because they absolutely adore my son, he's their first and only grandchild so far and they love spending time with him, always telling us to bring him over. She said I was playing the victim, painting her as a *itch and trying to trample the only boundary that she has set for herself. I'm currently thoroughly lost and trying to figure out the best way forward. Aita here, and is there any way I can fix this situation? Edit. I never expected so many replies in such a short time, but I appreciate the responses. To clarify a few things and answer some questions. I've mentioned it to my parents and they're aware of what happened. My mom said she'll sit my sister down for a conversation, but from what I hear my sister keeps making reasons to avoid it: busy, tired, wanting more time, etc. My dad says not to worry about it and it will blow over. My dad had a heart attack recently and is currently recovering, so I don't want to push it with them right now and stress him out, so I left it at that with him and changed the subject. My partner is amazing and has never given me reason to worry about him being around any females. I admit I was worried he had done something when he told me how she responded, because I can't wrap my brain around why she would blow up over just small talk, but she herself said he didn't do anything. I know my brother has had partners, but he hasn't brought any home. I myself didn't bring anyone home until I was serious about them and thought there might be a future. Brought home a grand total of 2 guys, current partner and my ex from college. Regarding her mental health, she has always had a bad temper, has snapped at me many times with no apology even when she realized later she was wrong. She accused me of taking her shoes which she had actually just left in the vehicle. There has never been anything on this level before. Comments. Commenter 1. This is very weird. You should speak with your mom and other brother, see if sister has disclosed reasoning, or if she has otherwise been paranoid. Commenter 2. It reads like jealousy to me, tbh. Maybe she feels he's taking her away from the family, but if he's done nothing to her and she won't give a reason, if I were up I'd go low or no contact with the sister. Family events, baby showers, parties, etc. everyone would be invited except for her. You don't want to talk to my husband and we can't resolve this? Fine, lol, you're on your own. I don't entertain childishness like this. Commenter 3. Agreed. This would make me develop a boundary where I wouldn't want any member of my family around her, not my husband, not my kid, not me. Your parents want to see your kid. They now have to visit you, or guarantee your sister is not at home and not coming home. Asking your husband not to talk to her is ridiculous. She needs therapy and to apologize. Absolutely no contact. If your parents want to talk to her, that's good. If she won't talk, that's not surprising. Tell your parents until this is resolved with an apology and therapy, you will not darken their doors. On the bright side, it sounds like they live nearby so can visit easily. Hard for your dad with the recent heart attack maybe, but that's on her, not on you. If they invite you over and say she won't be around, bring mace and tell them you are bringing mace in case she appears, so there better not be any mistake about her not being around. Commenter 4. Can someone make a bot for what a boundary really is? She can make a boundary that she doesn't have to talk to him or that she will leave when he comes over. But not that he can't talk to her. And since it's not her house, I don't think she can make a boundary that he can't come over either. A boundary is an action you take, not an action you impose on others. For example, a healthy expression of a boundary, healthy in quotes because she needs help, is, if he comes over I will go to my room. If he talks to me I will leave and go for a walk. Update. I'm blown away by the number of responses. I'm trying to read them all, but replying to all is a bit difficult due to the volume. I appreciate all the responses though, it gives me perspective. To clarify, the only reason I consider my husband might have done something is because I'm in healthcare, in an environment where all sides of all stories have to be looked at. My first instinct was that she was being out of line for no reason, but I always try to look at both sides and was trying to figure out why she said what she did. Both he and her said that he didn't do anything, and I'm going with that. Growing up, my brother was the golden child. Dad only wanted a son and kept talking about his son and his legacy. My dad has evolved over the years. He doesn't do that anymore and makes all his children a priority now. My dad when I was 10 is a different man to the one I have now. And my sister was my mom's favorite. She would always say that to us. I never wanted to be the calm princess my mom wanted. I wanted to make my dad happy and be as boy-like as possible and refuse to wear the dresses, etc. She wanted me to. That relationship has also evolved. My mom and I are on much better terms now than when I was a kid. I was the oddball, and my siblings and I weren't really close until everyone was past 14 or 15, then we started finding shared interests, etc. My husband was beyond happy to marry into my family. My parents treat him like their own son, and he has said many times they feel more like family than his own family. He has 3 brothers, but he's the youngest by 10 years and felt left out a lot. He once told me he was excited to have a sister-in-law as he has none of his own and isn't close with his brothers, so this whole thing has him down, and I feel horrible for even considering he had done anything inappropriate when I knew deep down he hadn't. I was just trying to figure out what was going on. My sister told my dad she will sit down with us to talk about it this afternoon when I get off work, so waiting to hear what she says in his presence. We'll update again after we talk. Stories number 16. My fiancée and her kids moved in, and I'm not sure I can handle it. I 47M, let's call me Dan, am engaged to Rachel 31F. She's an amazing woman in so many ways, funny, beautiful, and ambitious. I honestly thought I had finally found the right person after my divorce years ago. The only wrinkle? Rachel has 2 kids, Ethan 11 and Lila 3, from her ex Mike, 33M. She and Mike pride themselves on their healthy co-parenting. Which sounds great on paper, but in reality, Mike is lazy, unreliable, and puts almost everything on Rachel's plate. He also doesn't pay child support, which is a whole other mess. Rachel moved in with me about 4 months ago with the kids. I knew things would change, but I don't think I really understood how much until it actually happened. Life before versus life now. Before, my house was quiet, clean, and structured. I worked, came home, cooked myself a meal, and relaxed. My weekends were free. Now, toys are everywhere. I can't walk through the living room without stepping on blocks, dolls, or Legos. Lila wakes up multiple times a night and cries until someone goes to her. Rachel insists we take turns, but more often than not, it's me getting up. I've become the default chauffeur, doing daycare drop-offs and pickups, which I hate. The daycare recently raised prices, and I'm basically paying more for a service I didn't even want in the first place. On top of that, Lila is constantly sick. First it was hand, foot and mouth, then a nasty cold, then pink eye. I've never washed my hands so much in my life, but I still keep catching stuff from her. I didn't sign up to live like a permanent babysitter. The older kid is a whole different battle. Ethan 11 is, well, he's a decent kid underneath, but he's also at that bratty preteen stage. Anytime I ask him to clean up after himself, it's, "You're not my dad," or, "I don't have to listen to you." He stole my credit card last month and spent over $600 on Roblox and Amazon junk. I was furious. I told Rachel we had to discipline him, but she brushed it off with, "He's just a kid. We'll talk about it." She didn't ground him, didn't take away his games, nothing. I ended up eating the charge because I didn't want to damage his credit by reporting it. A couple weeks ago, we threw him a birthday party. A bunch of his classmates came over, and afterward, I got lice. Lice. At 47 years old, I'm sitting there shampooing my head with Rid and feeling like I'm living in some sitcom nightmare. Seeing my fiancé differently. Here's the part one didn't expect, I'm starting to see Rachel in a new light, and not in a good way. She's kind of a lazy mom. I hate saying that, but it's true. She'll scroll her phone while Lila throws a tantrum. She'll let Ethan talk back without consequences. She'll say she's too tired to get up with Lila at night, so it falls on me. When we first dated, she seemed like this fun, put-together single mom who was managing everything gracefully. But living together? I feel like I'm doing more parenting than she is, and these aren't even my kids. I love Rachel, but I don't love this version of our life. I worked hard to build stability after my divorce, and now it feels like my home is chaos. The guilt. The worst part is I do love the kids. Lila gives me these little hugs and calls me Danny. Ethan, when he's not being a brat, has a sharp sense of humor and can actually be a lot of fun to hang out with. But I resent the situation. I resent that Mike gets to skate by without paying child support, without doing the hard parts, while I'm the one losing sleep, time, and money. I resent that Rachel shrugs things off instead of stepping up more. And I feel guilty as hell for resenting them. They didn't ask for this. They're kids. It's not their fault their dad is useless. Where I'm stuck. So here I am, 4 months into cohabitation, wondering, is this just what step-parent life is supposed to be? Am I expecting too much? Or is this a huge red flag about Rachel and her parenting? I don't want to resent her or her kids. But I also don't know if I can do this for the next 15 years. I love Rachel, but the reality of living with her and her kids is so much harder than I imagined. I don't want to be the bad guy who bails, but I also don't want to wake up one day miserable because I ignored the warning signs. TLDR, I'm 47, engaged to a 31-year-old with 2 kids. They moved in, and I feel like my life has been turned upside down. I'm basically co-parenting more than their dad, who does nothing, while my fiancé is more hands-off than I realized. I don't hate the kids, but I'm starting to resent the situation, and I don't know if this relationship is sustainable. Comments. Commenter 1. This is a preview of coming attractions to what your life will be if you stay in the relationship. Think hard on this. Commenter 2. Good kid and $600 theft. Dude, that's wild, 99% of 11-year-olds wouldn't dare. Edit. Y'all are giving way too many excuses. This is trashy family stuff if you think it's common or remotely normal. It's not a thing in most households. Commenter 3. Her kid stole $600 from you for BS video game crap and she did nothing? It sounds like you have signed on for 4 children, your fiancé's 2 kids, your fiancé, and her ex. Being a step-parent is hard, but this sounds untenable. Commenter 4. Why are you still with her? Clearly she's looking for an active step-parent to take her load off while her and her lazy baby daddy do nothing. Might want to reevaluate because I guarantee if you take on this responsibility you'll be one of those step-parents that regret taking it on because the kids will always choose the biological parent. Stories number 17. I 24M adopted my little sister 8F after our parents passed away, GF 23F isn't so excited about it. Relationships. Last month, when my parents were driving back from my uncle's house outside the city, they encountered a moose on a remote road in the forest. My father, who was the driver, swerved at a high speed and hit into a tree. They both died on scene. Because it wasn't a very often used road, they were only discovered the next day by a passerby. My sister has been staying with my grandmother who I'm not a great fan of. She would hit me when I was a kid, most of the time deservedly so, but also a lot of time unjustified. She said that she doesn't want to adopt my sister, so the next option was me. I agreed to it without question. We are very close and in the end she's my family and I love her to the end of the world. My sister moved in with my GF 2 weeks ago. Obviously she's very scarred from what happened to our parents. We were both very close to them and they were great people. She still doesn't really talk much, only to me and sometimes my GF. We take her to therapy twice a week and there are improvements, even in such a short amount of time. Yesterday, after I stayed with my sister in her bed until she fall asleep, I went to my and my GF's room. She said that we have to talk about this situation. She said that we don't really have time for each other since my sister moved in. It's a fair point. We've only had sex once and that was when my sister was away, and even then I wasn't really into it at all. She said I should reconsider the adoption and maybe hand her over to my uncle and aunt. I refused. They're already busy as it is. My uncle isn't allowed to work because of a heart condition and because he didn't work long before being diagnosed. His disability fund isn't very big. My aunt works at a retirement home and that obviously doesn't pay great. They also pay for my cousin's university expenses while juggling taking care of my younger cousin, who's only 5. My GF is in her last year of university so we don't have much money either. I luckily found a job after university in my field that pays pretty good, but it's been tough financially, though soon enough I will start receiving funds from the government for adopting my sister. My GF said that she isn't ready to become a mother and overall having all these responsibilities of a parent, which I can understand. It's tough, and said that it's been putting a big strain on our relationship, which again is valid. Before, we'd get back from work and university and be off for the day, but now we have to pick my sister up from school, drive her to the therapist and also take care of her a lot when she's home. She doesn't like to be alone. I told her that while she makes valid points, all of that goes out the window when this is my sister. I can't just throw her away because it's not easy. It won't be easy and that I have to ride it out, but that she doesn't. It probably wasn't the right thing to say because it set her off, and she said that if I had to choose between my sister and her, who I would pick. I didn't answer and we got into a bit of a verbal fight, after which I went to sleep on the couch, and I kind of broke down from everything that has been going on lately. I should like to add that my GF and I have been together for 9 years. She knew my parents and they loved her. She also knows my sister from birth and I just can't understand how she could make me pick between them. I love both of them and I don't want to lose either of them. I think I need advice on what to do, or say with my GF, because I'm at a loss. Edit. I also want to add, because people seem to think that I just suddenly took my sister without even talking to my GF. That's not the case. We talked at it at length and she said that we need to get her to come home to us, no matter what. That's why I was also really surprised as to what she had to say. Edit 2. I wanted to thank everybody for great advice too, and for everybody's condolences. Even thought we're all strangers here. Seeing words of encouragement is great and actually impactful and helpful. Thank you. Update. I'm taking my sister to therapy in a bit. After I get back home my GF and I will talk about all this. Okay, so we ended up talking about it for a while, and this is how it went down. At first my GF apologized profusely for the other night. She said she acted like a spoiled little shit and that it wasn't acceptable at all. I told her that I still love her the same even though what she said was hurtful, and that I understand it's a huge jump for her, and explained to her that she doesn't need to be a mother, just a friend or big sister to my sister, and that I don't want to push any responsibilities on her, and said that if she'd like to, we could both take a break from each other to process this. She refused and said she processed it and admitted that what she said was a result of everything changing so quickly, but She doesn't want or need a break because she realized she was in the wrong. She said that she regretted what she said almost immediately but thought that the damage was done, and that I will break up with her, and she was scared to approach me because of that. Next she told me that she didn't mean to make me pick between them, and said herself that if someone posed her that question if she was in that situation, she would drop them, and was thankful for me withholding that decision until we had a talk about it. She said it arose from her feeling distance from me, and jealousy that I was spending a lot of time with my sister but had to spend less with her as a result. She understands why though. It's necessary I take care of my sister while she's hurting, and said she wishes to help me with that as much as she can, and that she would like to help me get through this as well. She admitted that for the past 13 years, I've been her everything, and that for those 2 weeks she thought she's losing me, and it terrified her, but after talking about it with some of her close friends, she saw that she wasn't losing me, just that a very important thing popped up in my life that had to be taken care of, and it was going to take a lot of my attention, which was previously focused mostly on her. She said that she wants me to know I can depend on her in terms of responsibility about my sister, and that she will do her best to be good to my sister, and I can see that, compared to yesterday or the day before, my GF really tried with my sister today, initiated conversations with her and helped her out with homework and picking out some clothes before going to the therapist today. It was as if seeing my GF go from being a child to an adult in a matter of a day. I also admitted some of my faults, such as neglecting her over the past few weeks, although unintentionally I realize it can have an impact on a person, and also not really giving her that much of a say on the matter whether my sister will come here to stay. We came up with a few things, namely that we must definitely go to therapy sooner than later. She suggested leaving my sister with my aunt and uncle for a few hours over the weekend while we go and sort that out, and also that we need to be able to balance our time more efficiently, so we can have at least a bit more time to reconnect with each other. Then she told me that she's sorry for not helping me grieve or finding time to do that, and that our fight was a wake-up call for her not being supportive enough of me through what happened recently, and that she will do whatever she can to make up for her oversteppings recently. It was at this point that the whole entire month hit, like a train. I cried a lot while she was hugging me and giving me words of reassurance and comfort through the whole thing, while allowing me to release what I've been holding on to this past month. This was my GF as I knew her, a very caring person, and I really hope that what she showed 2 days ago wasn't her real face as people are saying, but merely a reaction stemming from insecurity, but I guess only time can tell that. I think it was a positive thing to do, and obviously there's still tons more where that came from, but it's a step in the right direction. When I came back home with my sister, we all played cards and I just felt like we were a family. It's a good feeling. As of the time that I'm writing this, I put my sister to sleep, and today she didn't take much time to fall asleep at all. She pretty much drifted off after a forehead kiss and some cuddling. I'm in the living room on the couch right now. My girlfriend is taking a shower and we're planning to watch a movie together, and honestly I'm thankful to everyone who gave me advice over the past few hours. I don't think I could have kept a level head so much if so many haven't had offered different points of view and sound advice. One thing I learned from this ordeal is that communication, especially in times of stress like this, is vital, and that before making important decisions, it's good to talk to your partner and see if they maybe have an explanation for what they did, but also being ready for the worst. I went into the conversation with my GF being ready to break up if her view hadn't changed, because like it or not, for the time being my sister is a priority, and I think that 2 days ago my GF didn't understand why and couldn't accept it, but after talking to her, and explaining why I have to take care of my sister like this, she now understands and accepts it. Once again, thanks to everyone who offered advice, and while this is a great community, I hope I'm never in a position difficult like this where I have to ask for advice, although who knows what will happen. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Girlfriend has a choice. Your sister doesn't. Commenter 2. The really sad part in all of this is that OP is also grieving the death of both parents, but because he had to take on an overwhelming responsibility, his sister, his feelings are not even being discussed. If my partner lost both of her parents, I wouldn't be giving her shit about the lack of sex 30 days later. The request to choose was just completely asinine. Commenter 3. Pick your sister. Your sister has no choice in this. Your girlfriend has a choice to stay or leave. Reply. Oh, I already know that if she does make me choose that I'm sticking with my sister. I guess I just want some advice to maybe prevent splitting off from my girlfriend so I don't have to pick, that we could see eye to eye, but from what people have been saying, that's likely not going to be possible. Commenter 4. You're not into sex because your parents died recently. She's being selfish and not supportive about their death. Even if the sister issue is real for her, she should have at least waited for you to mourn first. Reply. Yeah, we did have a discussion. I forgot to include it because I was really tired, but yeah, we did discuss it, and my GF was all for taking my sister. I think it might have been the matter of reality striking her in the face when my sister moved in. And I don't think she's had any troubles with being empathetic. Over the years not that many bad things happened really, but if I was feeling burned out from uni and all, she would be the first to comfort me and make me feel better, so it came off as a huge surprise to me. And in terms of my parents being gone, you're completely right, I haven't even had time to accept it. I had to arrange the funeral with some help from my aunt and uncle, then having to fuck around with the bureaucracy of adopting my sister, being scared that she might be put into adoption if the government somehow determines I'm unfit to take care of her, then lately just the whole mess of more paperwork regarding changing my sister's school, dealing with lawyers about my parents' will, dealing with trying to get child benefits while going to work, getting home, making some food for all of us, taking care of my sister, trying to help her with homework, help her with grieving and spending time with my GF. Virtually I haven't even had time to think, and the only time I could was 2 nights ago when I went to sleep on the couch. It all kind of hit me and I just broke down. Hell, even last week when I got home from work and I didn't want to cook, I tried calling my mother to ask if we could come in for dinner, then I only realized that they're not there anymore. Final update. Hey people, it's been a while since my original post and I have some free time today and not much to do with it, so I'm gonna write this. Why not? A lot happened since my first post. In the end, my GF, now ex I guess, couldn't deal with the fact that I had a new priority. I admit that I wasn't the best at managing time between them two and I would spend a lot more with my sister than my GF, but I think that's understandable, maybe. In general, my GF was on and off with my sister. One day she would be the nicest person to her and the other would completely blow her off and be borderline mean. I had a few talks with her that it needs to stop, but it would only end up working for maybe the rest of the week and the next it would be back to square one. About 3 weeks ago it erupted into a big argument. She accused me of not loving her anymore, and that I play favorites. I told her they're not my children to be playing favorites and that obviously for some time my sister is gonna need a lot more attention, since you know she lost her parents. In the end, she went back to her ultimatum, sister or her. I was angry at this point, because she has been mean to my sister that day, and I told her she can pack her shit and find a place to sleep tonight. I haven't seen her since and quite frankly I don't really want to. We texted for a bit, basically both sides confirming it's over and arranging when she can come for the rest of her stuff. As for my sister, she's a lot better. She doesn't stay in her room all day anymore and she's slowly going back to her talkative old self. She still doesn't like being alone, but it was the same before the accident, so since my girlfriend moved out, we've been sharing a bed for comfort. She still wakes up at night crying sometimes, so it's better when I'm there and frankly it's a lot more comfortable. One thing I really regret is my sister heard that whole fight and she started apologizing to me for breaking me and my GF up. I assured her it's not her fault at all and if anything she helped me see for who my GF really was. She still goes to her therapist and it's really helped a ton. She doesn't need me to be there while she falls asleep and doesn't panic when I go to the shop for 15 minutes. All in all, these past 3 months have been the hardest time in my life, but eye-opening to my ex's disregard for my family and kind of me too. Sorry for no happy ending, I guess this is how real life is. Edit 2, I would love to thank everybody for kind words individually, but with this amount it's crazy, so I want to give everyone who gave me advice and kind words a huge thank you to everybody. You're all amazing. These numbers are overwhelming and I can't even express in words how it feels that so many people care. It's really something else. Didn't expect that strangers on the internet could make me cry either, so once again a huge thank you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. One of the most mature and sensible posts I have read in a long time. How very lucky your sister is to have you in her life. Keep guiding and supporting her in this exact manner and she'll be just fine. Commenter 2. Sensible from OP 100%. His ex sounds like an absolute psycho, though. In the last post they've been together 9 years and she gets jealous of his grieving sister in 2 weeks. OP is much better off. Stay strong, world's best brother. Commenter 3. You're a good brother. Your sister is lucky to have you taking care of her. Commenter 4. Wow man, this really resonated with me. When my stepmother passed a few years back, I moved back home to help care for my 10-year-old sister. I would have been right around the age that you are now. I left a job behind, and a relationship. But it was simply what had to be done at the time. My stepmother and I had a rough relationship, but she would always look at my sister and I and say, wow, you guys look just alike. You know, when your dad and I are gone, you better take care of your little sister. 12-year age difference. It never made sense to me until her passing. Now she is in high school and got a 4.5 GPA last semester. She is excelling in sports, and she is just an all-around great kid who has been through so much. Moving back was hard, and I had to let a lot go, but in the end it all worked out and I never would have met what is now my wife had I not made the move. Not that my opinion really matters, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for what you have done. Commenter 5. Thank you so much for being the kind of man this world needs, especially in such a tough position. Have you thought about joining a group for newly single parents? Or a grieving support group? I think it would be good for you to be around people who appreciate what you're doing and empathetic of the struggle. Reply. That's a really good idea and I haven't even thought of it even, the thing is my free time is really limited. After work I have to be at home with my sis and by the time the weekend comes around, I'm honestly drained from work and pretty much constantly stressing over stuff, so I try to regenerate as much as I can before work again on Monday. I'll check around if there's anything like that in my area on a weekend, maybe I could spare an hour or two. Thanks for the advice. Commenter 6. I remember this from 2 months ago and I gave you the following advice: pick your sister. Your sister has no choice in this. Your girlfriend has a choice to stay or leave. You agreed with me at the time and I am glad that you adopted your sister. As you can see, your now ex-girlfriend showed her true colors and left. I am glad that your sister is doing better. Make sure that your sister understands that it is your ex's fault, not hers. A girlfriend is easily replaceable. I wish you and your sister the best. Reply. Yeah, I remember everyone telling me to dump her and honestly I would have probably been doing myself a favor there, but I was blind. Stories number 19. Is it illegal to pretend to offer someone a job in the hopes to make them unemployed? This all happened a week ago and I have found other employment, so that answers the question everyone is going to ask. Guy who used to work with us a few years ago left on very good terms. He got his MBA and went on to another company at a salary requisite to his skill level. Today he comes back for an interview at the company for an AVP position that is a small step up for him. Everything went well in the interview and everyone was on board. Problem is, the EVP said he is not going to give him the position. He is going to lead him on and make him think he has a job until he hands in his 2 weeks at his current position. Then my EVP is going to just pull the job offer with some bullshit excuse. When I asked him why he would do this, he said the most important lesson I can learn in life is loyalty. Stay loyal or never come back. Yeah, I went ahead and warned the guy about it and told him not to put in his 2 weeks notice. He wants to go ahead and go along with the whole charade just to see how far the EVP will go. My question is this in any way illegal? I know that a company can pull the rug out from under you in a million completely legal ways, but if there is proof that it was malicious, what can be done? Thinking about going to HR with this, then a lawyer if they don't do anything about it. Either way, I will never work at a company he works at again. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Does this EVP have a boss? This is ripe for promissory estoppel/detrimental reliance. With an affidavit and testimony form the candidate has a case if he puts in his notice and loses his job. Fuck that guy with a rusty railroad spike. What an absolute ass. If you have an independent HR team, a compliance hotline, or a general counsel, now might be the time. Commenter 2. Also, anyone who's so focused on loyalty that they're willing to pull this is almost certainly going to regard you warning the guy as disloyalty. And he'll definitely regard you testifying/going to HR/notifying general counsel as disloyalty. And he's obviously dumb enough to ignore minor issues like legality. So be prepared for retaliation. CYA, document everything, and be prepared to give him another rusty railroad spike after he fires you for snitching. Reply, already have a new job. As does half of the staff under him. Commenter 3. Just for clarification, there is no legal case until someone suffers actual financial damages. Going along with it to expose the practice isn't necessarily enough, unless the candidate genuinely loses current job and didn't know about the fraud in advance. However, litigation is always expensive for companies, and the senior executive management team may want to address this practice. Just from a risk management/mitigation perspective. Given you have a new job and you might not care. Update. DBAG boss wanted to screw over a former employee with a fake job offer. Went to HR this morning and played the audio from the phone call. I also pulled the emails between me and the EVP and handed them over to HR. The chief personnel officer pulled me into his office and made me play everything for him. I told him the full story of everything about the former employee and the EVP's attitude. To make him completely understand that I would not let this get buried, I told him that the former employee knows the whole thing. Said that I plan to leave at the end of the week if the EVP situation does not get handled. Did not tell him about the new job. The CPO thanked me for my honesty, which by the way was a major red flag for me, and said he would be contacting the COO immediately. At lunch I was pulled into a meeting with a junior HR person to talk about my performance review. We do not have performance reviews. It went badly. I was given 5 minutes to pack up my things at my desk and leave. I had an email typed up on my phone and sent it to the CEO detailing everything. I had typed it up as things happened and pretty much knew I would be cut today. Luckily my access had not been cut yet as I received the CC to my personal email back almost immediately. It received a one-sentence response of "Thank you for bringing this to my attention." So all in all I am pretty sure they will not do anything. They just do not realize how many people are leaving with no notice Friday. A large number of people know. Stories number 20. Told my boyfriend to go back to his mommy to be babied. I 22F told my boyfriend 22M he needs to go back to his parents' house since he wants to be babied so badly. He feels I'm being mean. To give a lot of context, he has lived in my home for exactly a year now. Before that he had his own apartment he let go as we agreed to live together and split costs. About 2 months into living together he called me from work and said he wanted to quit. I responded with, "Please don't until you have another job under you. I don't want to and will not take care of you." He swore up and down I wouldn't quit his job, and now has been unemployed for 10 going on 11 months. Since then I have paid for all food and groceries, every single house bill, entertainment bill, nicotine. If it costs money I'm paying for it. He's pitched in 50-50 for groceries maybe 3 times. Now in this year span I have gained custody of my 14-year-old sibling, giving me more to take care of emotionally and financially. I've told him over and over to get a job. I'm starting to struggle with money, I need support etc. Eventually I got to the point where I felt worn to the seams and have not been as nice as I used to be. I don't want the same affection or intimacy, and I snap on him over little things. The little things being stuff like me coming home from work and things are dirty. It's evident he's done absolutely nothing all day and he's sitting on his game. Every single day. Since I am working and paying for our everything we made an agreement that he would cook dinner and clean. It takes a max of 30 minutes a day to keep the house tip-top shape as I keep my home clean to begin with. I wanted him to cook dinner and clean the kitchen afterwards essentially. Without fail he would cook and leave leftovers, ingredients, and condiments on the counters to spoil. So often we got flies, groceries I'm single-handedly working for and paying for. I mean I don't understand how he doesn't get why that's so frustrating. Anyways very recently I had a car issue. I was using his car to get to and from work for a couple of weeks, well one night a repo man got me. He had not been paying his car payment little to my knowledge. Leaving me with no work for over a week and a half. You might wonder how he is going to pay for his car if he's unemployed. Well a few years back he had an interaction with an officer that led to a handsome settlement. I questioned why would he not be paying if he has the money and he said he just forgot to switch info over for payment and didn't get notifications because I don't have a phone, and he will just get a car off of Marketplace no big deal. Well that obviously pissed me to the moon but also had me thinking why has he never pulled out a few bucks to help support himself or better yet help me support him. Especially if he can just go grab a car so easily right. So one night after getting home from a long shift I got dishes out of the room, cleaned up, got the hair out and unclogged my bathroom sink he shaved in, and took the dogs who haven't been out in too long outside. I told him, "You need to go back to your f***ing parents' house since you want to be babied so badly. I'm done being your mommy. And you won't even take care of yourself. It's not fair. My brother and I are losing out on things because I'm trying to be your mommy too." He thought that was really mean and uncalled for. Am I overreacting? I genuinely don't believe so but I kinda feel bad. I know it's like well you're stupid for doing it but I'm the type that had to take care of their family their whole life and if I don't I feel immense guilt. Oldest surviving daughter of a throwed-off family if you will. Also the type to make things happen no matter what even if I gotta pay a few extra bucks. But it's biting me in the behind in my adult relationships. Comments. Commenter 1. Change the Wi-Fi password immediately and do not give it to him no matter how much he begs. Take the TV remotes away, have a friend hold on to them, or if you have your car back, put them in the trunk. Stop purchasing any foods he likes, and absolutely no snacks. You want him to look in the fridge and every cabinet and realize there is nothing in the house he likes to eat. He's sitting around the house all day long eating, watching TV and playing games. Years ago we agreed to let someone move in just until I'm back on my feet. 6 months later he wasn't even looking for a job. So I changed the Wi-Fi password, put the TV remotes in the trunk of my car as well as anything I knew he would enjoy eating. He whined and complained for a couple of days but he had a job in about a week and moved out soon afterwards. So for a couple of weeks my ex, my kids, and I all read books because no one could watch TV or play computer games. Your BF is behaving like a child, so he definitely needs to know he has to carry his own weight or move back in with mommy. I would also make up a list of every penny he owes you, one half the rent, utilities, groceries, etc., since the day he quit his job, and tell him if he wants to stay he pays you what he owes, and you will give him the password, but if he doesn't have a job in a week/2 weeks/a month, whatever you think is reasonable, then you will change the password again. Time for some tough love for the little boy he has become. But do you seriously want to continue a relationship with this mama's boy? I hope you think you deserve better than him. Commenter 2. I had to kick out my younger brother. I was subletting a room to for half price. He was on welfare and never got a job for the 11 months he lived with me, even though we agreed the rent discount would only be until he got a job. Same problem with dirty dishes, garbage, not cleaning anything in the apartment. It was all on my shoulders. Never contributed to electric or internet bills. It was tough, but I had to do it. You can do it, OP, get him out of there. You have so much time to fall in love with someone deserving. Edit, to clarify, there's nothing wrong with needing welfare support. I've had to use it myself. My mom was on it when I was a kid. The problem is we had an agreement that he could move in and I would help him out with rent so he could get away from my parents and he would get a job ASAP. But he didn't apply anywhere for a year. Commenter 3, give him an eviction notice. Make sure it matches legal requirements. I would also rethink the relationship entirely. Mummy's boys make terrible partners. In future, I wouldn't live with any man, if I were you, unless you have implemented the Fair Play system book and cards. Also, please use lots of paragraph breaks on Reddit to break up big blocks of text and make it easy for us to read what you have to say. Best of luck, OP. Nor. Commenter 4, nor don't feel bad. The agreement was to split costs. He's going on a year with no work. He's irresponsible enough to get his car repossessed. He won't even pick up after himself or cook as agreed upon. He needs to go. He isn't holding up his end of the bargain and has become a burden. That is not a partner. You have a man-child. Stories number 21. Married mom of 3 sends me nude photos of herself to me in confidence. I 25M worked at a grocery store for 2 years when I was 18. At the start of my second year, she 37F started working in the bakery. Due to food safety reasons, we couldn't wear jewelry, but we were allowed to wear simple wedding rings if we had them. She never did. I knew she had kids, but she would never talk about her husband or any other relationship she had. Being a very comfortable 18-year-old, I would be slightly flirty in a playful and non-serious way, but she would be only one of 2 people that would respond by flirting back. Typically it was always in a playful and joking way, but this form of talking would lead to me getting her Instagram and phone number. During the time we worked together, we never communicated outside of work, and when we both left, I thought that was that. After COVID ended, she would go to the gym and post her workout videos, most of which would be videos of her doing squats, kicks, lunges, and other leg and glute exercises. I didn't think much of it, but about a year ago I started responding, nothing big, maybe a fire emoji here and there. She started only liking my responses but not responding, until a few weeks ago. She responded with, "Do you like me or do you like what I post?" To which my flirty self responded with, "Why can't it be both?" She reacted to that message with a giggly emoji, then asked if I could keep a secret. I said yes. She began to unload that she was self-conscious about her body after having 3 kids, and I was the only person outside of her girlfriends that was praising her in any way on her gym videos or results, including her husband. I told her she looked great and she had no reason to be self-conscious, but that I didn't know she had a husband since she never brought him up. She then told me she loves the gym results, and she said that she had been working so hard to look and feel better while completely brushing off my comment about her husband. I told her that her hard work was definitely paying off and her body looks incredible. Without warning, she sends me a booty pic with the caption, "You think so?" Immediately after she sent that, she said that her kids were older now. One just graduated high school, one in 10th grade, one starting 6th grade, and told me she trusts me not to tell anyone about. I complied. Every week since, if I responded to her stories, she has sent me more of varying parts of her body. No payment, no action, just because. This leads me here. I really can't tell anyone because most of my friends either worked with me at the grocery store or are connected to friends that did, and they all know her too. Has anyone had a similar experience? Not complaining or anything, just confused and interested. Stories number 22. My work's on-site police officer searched my car when I wasn't around and found my pepper spray. So to add a bit of info, I am a security guard at a manufacturer facility that makes certain things that I won't name, but it's a heavily guarded facility. My job is to sit in my car 1 hour to watch the employee entrance, then do a foot patrol around the perimeter the next hour. This is an unarmed position, and the company I work for makes it clear we are not to have any weapons on us on site. Being a 5 feet 3 inches woman, for obvious reasons, I keep some pepper spray in my car. This is also not allowed per my company's policy, but after dealing with the things I've dealt with, my personal safety matters more to me than that. I've never taken it out of my car or used it to intimidate anyone, and until a week ago, it was never an issue. Last week, I left my car to do one of my usual patrols and forgot to lock my car. It takes me about 25 to 30 minutes to walk the perimeter and check the gates and doors. When I got back to my car, our on-site police officer was waiting for me by my car and told me he sees the pepper spray I kept in my center console. He lectured me about how I should know better than to have a weapon on site, and he would be contacting my manager to report it. I told him he didn't have permission to enter or search my car, and he told me he didn't need a warrant or permission when I am on company property. My manager told me having the pepper spray on site is a fireable offense, and I more than likely will lose my job after her and HR has a meeting about it. What should I do? Stories number 23. To fool by not knowing who I was talking to at work. This just happened and I don't think there will be repercussions, but it still doesn't look good. I was delivering papers to the mail room at work and afterwards I decided to swing by the bathroom before heading back to work and to waste a little time. On my way to the bathroom a lady cheerfully asked me how I was doing and I said, "Meh, it's alright I guess." Usually that's good enough, but she replied, "Only meh. How come?" So I replied with, "Well, personal life isn't great and then I spend 8 hours at a place I don't like for less pay than I'd like, so I don't know." And shrugged. She replied, "Now you'd probably expect with oh. Okay, well I hope it gets better." Well, what I forgot was that the mail room is in the same floor as the executive offices and an employee further down the hall, who'd seen our interaction, informed me that I'd just spoken with the COO of the company. TLDR, I told my COO to their face that I hate the company and feel underpaid. Stories number 24. My neighbor's family had a meltdown in the driveway and I swear it was better than Netflix. So last night, around 7 p.m., I'm in my kitchen minding my own business when I hear this dramatic thud outside. Naturally, I assume raccoons are fighting in my trash again. Nope. I peek out the blinds and see my neighbor's adult son sitting in the middle of their driveway like he's auditioning for a Shakespeare tragedy. He's rocking back and forth, yelling at the sky, "You never listen. You never care. What's the point of me being here?" Mind you, this is happening loud enough for the entire street to hear. Cue the dad walking outside, confused. Son immediately launches into full-volume monologue, "You chose work over family. Mom covered for you all these years." I nearly choked on my water. It was giving soap opera, season finale. Then the mom comes out, and instead of diffusing it, she yells right back at the dad, "He's not wrong. You've been absent for half his life." At this point I'm standing at my window with a bowl of chips like I bought tickets to this. But wait. Plot twist. A car pulls up. It's their daughter, the one who moved out a while ago. She slams the door and yells, "Why do I always have to be the referee?" So now we've got the full cast on stage, son crying, mom shouting, dad sulking, daughter rolling her eyes like she's had this script memorized for years. Neighbors are peeking out windows. I swear one guy across the street had binoculars. The son ends his performance with the line of the night, "This is the first time you've all listened to me in years and it's because I had to break down in public." And then, dead silence. Everyone just froze. Mom cried, dad stormed off, daughter hugged the son. Curtains closed. Show over. I don't know if they healed or if this was just intermission, but either way, I'm making popcorn tonight in case episode 2 drops. Stories number 25. My wife 32F doesn't like when I 36M play with our children. We have a 15-month-old and a 2-year-old. Our oldest is just starting to get into imaginative play, and I'm loving it. I've always been an awkward, shy guy, but I feel free to be myself around him. It's honestly been pretty healing for me to just be goofy, and he absolutely loves it. I've noticed my wife acting strange when I play with him though, like kind of rolling her eyes or smirking when she thinks I'm not looking. I thought I was imagining it until yesterday. I was pretending to be a dog with our son. He put a collar on me, and I was having fun tugging on it, nudging him, barking. I know it sounds strange, but he was in tears from laughing so hard, so I wasn't really thinking of the optics. Then, he wanted me to put a ball in my mouth and follow him around. I looked over at my wife on the couch, ball in mouth, like, can you believe this? And she rolled her eyes and said, you're so weird in a very snide tone. I felt all my self-consciousness coming back all at once, and I told my son we can play something else. Later that night, I asked her why she said that, and she doubled down. She says I've always played with the kids weird and it's childish. She doesn't like seeing her husband pretending to be a dog, and she doesn't know why I can't just play tag or stack blocks with them like a normal adult. This is really crushing me. Is this really how other adults feel too? Stories number 26. My husband bought me some sportswear for a prank but I kept wearing it and now he's mad. Should I stop? I'm 35 and he's 29. He bought me a sports bra and bottoms that he saw on an Insta model and thought they'd suit me. The shorts are pretty much thongs but I loved the bra as it was very supportive and wore it to the gym. When I got back he asked if anyone said anything about my sports bra if anyone looked. I said no, people do look in the gym, but I always say no when he asks as he's a bit jealous and he seemed disappointed. When I asked why he started laughing and said the logo on the sports bra, Blacked, is a porn company that specializes in interracial porn. I didn't really get the prank as I don't think many people would know that, but it annoyed me. He tried to humiliate me and I said, bit ironic you sent me outside and that when you got upset finding out I'd been with black men. This caused a big argument and since then I've worn this sports bra every time I've been to the gym or out on runs out of spite. I even out the bottoms on under my shorts and make sure the waistband sticks out with Blacked wrote all around it. I've even thought about posting a pic of myself on Instagram wearing it and going to his friend's barbecue on Sunday wearing it. Should I carry on this petty revenge or stop? Stories number 27. My sister doesn't get how different dating apps are for men versus women. So, I 26M, let's call me Eric, have an older sister Melissa, 29F. We're close, we talk about dating a lot, but recently I realized she has no idea how different the dating experience is for guys compared to women. Melissa could literally open Bumble or Hinge right now and, if she wanted, line up 3 dates a week. No exaggeration. She gets dozens of likes a day, constant matches, and the only real problem she complains about is filtering through too many guys. Meanwhile, I'm over here lucky if I get 3 matches in a month. Not dates, matches. Half of those don't even reply. I've gone weeks with 0 activity. And when I mention this to her, she looks genuinely shocked, like, really? Guys don't get that many matches. My sister's standards. Melissa has been on dating apps for about 10 years now. She's easily been on 1,000 dates by this point, I'm not even exaggerating, she admits to it. And yet, none of those guys have been good enough. Her ideal man is basically funny and witty, loves to travel, has a master's degree or higher, makes 6 figures, over 6 feet 2 inches. She laughs about how picky she is, but doesn't seem to realize that 99% of women are all competing for that exact same guy. Meanwhile, she swipes left on any dude under 6 feet 0 inches like it's nothing. When I point out how unrealistic that is, she says, well, you should have standards too. And yeah, I do, but my standards are like, be kind, have a job, be somewhat active, don't scream at waiters. Apparently, that's still not enough. The double standard. Here's what blows my mind, women can spend years on apps complaining about not finding the right guy, but they're still having constant dating opportunities. Guys, on the other hand, can go months without a single match, date, or conversation. And if we bring it up, it sounds like we're whining or bitter. Like, I had a buddy Josh, 27M, who got 0 matches on Hinge for 6 months. 6 months. He finally got one, they messaged for a week, and then she ghosted. He was embarrassed to even tell me that because he didn't want to sound pathetic. Women don't realize that for the average guy, dating apps are like applying for jobs where 99% of your applications get ignored. Meanwhile, women are turning down offers left and right because they've got too many choices. Why don't women see it? I honestly wonder if most women are just unaware because they don't have brothers. If Melissa didn't have me, she'd probably never hear about what it's like on the male side. Guys don't talk about it. Most men don't admit how bad their dating app stats are, because it's embarrassing. Nobody wants to admit, yeah, I've had Tinder for a year and never met anyone. Confirmation bias. Women see the best guys all the time on apps because those are the ones getting the matches. They don't realize that average dudes, guys like me and my friends, are basically invisible online. The frustration. The part that stings is when Melissa lectures me about putting myself out there more, or just being confident. Like, sis, I could be the most confident guy on earth, but if no one even swipes right on me, I don't get the chance to show it. She thinks dating is just hard for everyone. And yeah, it is in its own way, but the struggles are completely different. For her, it's about sorting through too many options. For me, it's about feeling like I don't exist. My question, so, I'm curious, are women really unaware of how brutal dating apps can be for men? Or do they know, but just don't care because it doesn't affect them? And guys, do you actually share your experiences with your sister's friends, or do you keep quiet because it's embarrassing? TLDR, my sister has been on apps for a decade, swimming in matches, and acts shocked when I tell her I'm lucky to get 3 in a month. She doesn't seem to realize how different the dating app experience is for men versus women. Are women just unaware, or are men too embarrassed to talk about how bad it can be? Stories number 28, The Great Centerpiece Showdown, Bride versus Mother-in-Law. So I was at a wedding this past weekend, and let me just say, things went from Pinterest perfect to full-on soap opera in less than 5 minutes. The bride had been very clear that she wanted simple, elegant greenery on the tables. Think eucalyptus runners with candles, very minimal. Everyone knew this. It was literally in the wedding website details. But the groom's mom? She apparently had other plans. While the bridal party was off taking photos, the MIL showed up with boxes of giant silk flower arrangements, hot pink, purple, glitter-sprayed roses, the whole Hobby Lobby explosion vibe. She recruited a couple of cousins to help her swap out the greenery for her statement centerpieces. When the bride walked in for her reception reveal, she froze. The poor coordinator looked like she wanted to crawl under the dessert table. The groom went pale. Then the MIL proudly announced, "See? I saved the decor." Cue, a full-on standoff. The bride was seconds away from ripping the glitter roses out herself when the groom finally stepped in and had to tell his mom to back down. They spent 20 minutes resetting the tables while MIL sulked in the corner, muttering about how guests expect real color. By the time dinner started, things looked normal again, but you could feel the tension at her table. Honestly, I don't know how they even managed family photos after that. And the best part? Guests had no clue anything went down. But those of us who saw it. Stories number 29. Aita for refusing to switch flights with a coworker even though they said it was a family emergency. I work for a company where I often have to travel for business, and our team usually books flights around the same time so we can arrive together. Recently, a coworker of mine asked if I could switch flights with him because he had what he called a family emergency. At first, I thought it would just be a matter of changing seats, but it turned out his ticket was for a flight that left almost 8 hours later than mine. I had already made plans around arriving early, including meeting a client for dinner. I told him I couldn't change because it would mess up my schedule, and honestly, I didn't feel comfortable giving up my seat on an earlier flight when the company had booked it for me. He got pretty upset and said I should understand that family comes first and accused me of being selfish. I asked him why he couldn't just call the airline himself or talk to our manager, but he said it would be easier if I just agreed. I held my ground, and since then he's been cold and distant at work, barely speaking to me. Some of my other co-workers think I should have helped him out, while others said I did the right thing because his problem wasn't really my responsibility. Now I'm wondering if I was being too rigid. I don't want to look like the person who doesn't care when someone says they have a family issue, but at the same time, it didn't feel fair for him to put it all on me. So, Aita for refusing to switch flights. Stories number 30. My high school bully got engaged and invited me to her bridal shower. WTF, this girl literally made my life hell. She slut-shamed me to the high school class, embarrassed me in public, ignored me when she was with other cooler people around. She made fun of how I struggled with religion. For years. I never retaliated and was always nice and kind to her back. I'm assuming she never realized how horrible she was to me and has moved on, and thinks we're somewhat friends. Her family situation is somewhat twisted, both parents divorced and remarried with step-kids, so she's forgotten, and I guess that's what led into how she treated me. So in my head, I always felt bad for her and put up with it. We graduated a while ago and she's now engaged. I on the other hand am struggling extremely with dating, and watching everyone else having an easy time finding their life partner hasn't been smooth. It's difficult and a bumpy road, and when I found out the girl who was so horrible to me got exactly what I want, I didn't know how to react. I am jealous of her, but I also don't want to ever be as low as her. If I go to the shower she will appreciate it because she did invite me for a reason. I know she invited me because she actually wanted me there. I also know that since she doesn't have a stable family she expects her friends and whatever I am to be there for her and support her, so I feel obligated to go. I don't know if I'll be the punchline this time but I'm more pissed how the person who was horrible to me is thriving and successful. Edit. I feel like one of the biggest reasons pushing me to go is that it's a chance to do something I've never really done before, to be genuinely happy for someone I'm jealous of or even dislike. I want to prove to myself that I can celebrate someone else's success or joy without letting envy or resentment take over. If I can do that, I'll feel proud of myself for being mature and emotionally strong, and like I can handle any challenge that comes my way. On top of that, I'll get to see some good friends from high school, which is another reason to go. If I decline, I feel like I'd be missing the opportunity to test myself, to show myself that I'm capable of growth and self-control, and to confront my insecurities head-on. Stories number 31. Aita because I banned my step-family from my house and being disrespectful to her. Okay. So I, 28F, am conflicted. This is a long one with some backstory. My dad Patrick M. 66 divorced my mom Kathleen F. 61 when I finished high school. They were in their 50s, they had not been working for a long time. He remarried last year to a woman Shelley 54F, fake name. She has 3 kids, Jacob M. 32, Amelia F. 29 and Alex M. 29, they're twins. My brothers and I didn't really interact with them. However, at the beginning of last year I inherited my grandfather's estate and got to move into an amazing house. My dad was the one who was supposed to inherit it but my grandfather was a petty person and gave it to me. I have been in the house since November 18th and have had very few visitors. It was mostly contractors to fix up the home and to build a large fence and refurbish the barn. I was feeling really good about my decorations and how it was a really nice. My brothers Damien M. 36 and his wife Nadine F. 32, Lachlan 30 M with his partners David 29 M and Marianne 33 F and my younger brother Matthew 24 M were over to look at the renovations and to plan the holidays when my dad arrived with his new wife. I felt a little upset because I had not invited them. My dad had sprung a lot on us, like the wedding, and I had not even gotten a chance to meet her before we arrived at the wedding. My dad told me about a barbecue that he was having so we could get to know each other. We had a few drinks after with some snacks before people began going home. It seemed normal. I arrived on time and Shelley huffed when I arrived. I hugged my dad and went to the backyard. I stayed mostly with my siblings and their partners. We are all introverted so social gatherings are awkward. Dinner felt awkward. I was set in the corner next to the kids. We were all engaging in small talk when suddenly Shelley asked why I was taking antidepressants and a few other medications. She also told me that if I was that unhappy, I shouldn't be in such a big house all by myself. The table went dead silent. I asked why she was in my bathroom. I didn't even know when she had a chance to go into my bedroom or bathroom. Shelley told me that family didn't keep secrets and it was her job as my new mom to make sure I was okay. I looked at my siblings and they all were shocked. I told her that she wasn't my mom and that going into my bathroom was a gross invasion of my privacy. Shelley told me that I was overreacting and that I was just like my crazy-ass mother. I got up, told her that she was not welcome to my house in the future and I would not be coming to any family functions that she was participating in until she apologized to me. My siblings walked out with me. They could not believe that she would be so audacious and act like that. My dad called later and told me that I was being sensitive and that Shelley probably just needed to use something from my bathroom. I told him that he was putting on blinders and this was a red flag. He told me not to talk, told me that until I calmed down and acted like an adult. I don't think that I was being unreasonable but I am overthinking now and thinking that I might be the asshole. I need some unbiased opinions because I think we might be biased from my dad's blind side with the wedding and everything. Please, I also need advice moving forward. I love my dad and I want to at least be cordial with his new wife. Clarification, they left my house. It was the next day that we went to their house for a barbecue. Update. This is only a small update because of everyone telling me that she was going to try and take my house. I called my dad, which was really heartbreaking. I asked him what he would do if someone went through his things. He said it was different because she was worried about me. He then told me that he spoke to her about his mentally unstable daughter who makes poor choices and in not lying. I started crying. I asked him if he wanted a relationship with me because his actions were screaming that he no longer wanted me. He let out a deep sigh and asked if I was still talking to my shrink because I was acting just like my mother. I am ashamed to say that I started yelling at him over the phone. How dare he treat me like this? How dare he talk about my personal information with a stranger, and how dare he act like this is okay? I have been medicated since I was 14 because of him. I have given excuses for his actions for years and tried to be a good daughter. To do things that are outside of my character to fit his idea of a perfect daughter. So fuck you. Then I hung up the phone and called my emotional support human, my older brother Damien, and cried to him. He was running errands, I suppose, because he showed up at my house and brought with him ice cream and Baileys. We sat in my bed with my dog Cows and ate ice cream and drank Baileys straight from the bottle. The next confrontation is with Shelley in a day or two. Also, for those worried, if I am institutionalized or anything, my brother Lachlan gets the house. I am also going to call my mom because this has been more upsetting than I thought it would be, and she will fly in and rip my dad a new one. Possibly might punch Shelley too. Right now I just need booze and the comfort of the strangers from the internet. Update 2, so. Damien summoned the rest of our siblings for emotional support and cuddles, and Marianne freaking called my mom. I called my shrink and explained what was going on and have a session tomorrow to talk about the emotional roller coaster that I have been on. From what I can tell, Amelia is still talking to my mom about how my dad is being a disrespectful a-hole and Lachlan is canoodling with David while the rest of my siblings are helping me with chores. I have emailed my lawyer about my will. Many of you were concerned about my dad trying to gain guardianship of me, which will never be an option. In case of that, my older brother would be the one taking care of me. Shelley has tried calling me a few times since hanging up with my dad, but I don't want to talk to her. Right now Matthew is talking with my dad and Shelley. I have been looking over some of the text he has been sending with updates of what they're saying. My step-siblings have also been talking to me. Amelia told me that her mom was awkward and really just wanted us to like her, but, I'm really on the fence if I even want to go and speak with Shelley. I can understand to a point my dad's concerns, but at the same point, I have been healthy and taking care of myself for the past 6 years. I have been doing really well, if I say so myself. I have a great support system with my siblings, and I might even be willing to get to know my step-siblings. Also, my mom is flying in apparently. She has been in Ireland for the past 5 years and has been very happy, but feels that it's time to rip my dad a new one for mistreating her little sison, chicken. My parents divorced because my mom was unstable, which was just an excuse. She is bipolar, so she can be a little much. For those worried, my dad has very little info into my mental health. He was the person who got a phone call because he used to be my emergency contact and was at the bottom of the list. Unfortunately my brothers were not answering, so they contacted him, and all he heard was I was on a 72-hour hold for my own safety. He has held it over my head. I am going to have limited contact with my dad, as many have suggested NC, but I don't want to cut him off. My brothers have been very supportive of me and with everything that has been going on. They have been making plans because they have been reading this too. They keep telling me I should bring one of my pets to my parents' house and let it loose. From what limited information I have, Shelley is terrified of spiders, and I have a few that would make a lovely addition to their home. There are some really nice spots for a spider to hide/reproduce, but I don't think I will. I don't want them to get squished. I am setting up more security cameras as well as adding locks. My will is still in place from several years ago, stating that everything that I own would be given to my brothers. I have no trespassing signs all over my property, as well as a very good gate that keeps most invaders out. I will update in the next few days with news if there is any. Stories number 32. Guys love the high maintenance look but hate what comes with it. This is based on my previous relationships and my observations, and it annoys me to no end. I'm a pretty chill, laid-back person. I dress up for important events, but otherwise, I dress quite casually. Sneakers, hoodies, etc. My previous partners loved the fact that I was quite down-to-earth and casual. But eventually, they'd all voice their discontent in how I dressed. How I should wear heels and pretty shoes more often, and do my hair more, etc. How I should wear clothes from more high-end brands. Now, I would agree with them if I was unhygienic, or dressed in sweatpants to a fancy dinner party. But I dressed normally, and guys don't like that. The thing is, when I was younger, I had a looks-maxing phase where I was always dressed up, had a personal trainer, frequently visited the hair salon, got skincare treatments. I had photos of myself from that time, and my partners would always hint that they would love to see me like that. However, during that time, I was working a second job just to fund my lifestyle. The clothes, the makeup, the training, the skincare, the upkeep costs were insane. I do not regret that phase of my life, it was a good experience, but it required so much energy I do not have now, and I now have other priorities in life. I told my partners how much money I was spending to look the way I did back then, and asked them, are they willing to pay for it now? Because if I spent that much money like I did back then, I would no longer have time to hang out with them because I would need to work extra hours. They all pretty much said no, and that they wouldn't want the relationship to become all about money. Basically, they don't want no gold digger. All those relationships ended for one reason or another, but it annoyed me to no end that all those boys liked me for my chill personality, yet disliked the fact I didn't look like a high-maintenance girl. But they couldn't fathom that the high-maintenance look comes some sort of sacrifice/payment, one way or the other.